Hi everyone, welcome back. It's Thursday, the 21st of August. This means that August is nearly over. I mean, I know it's only just started, but it's nearly over. Unbelievable. Anyway, we got a good guest rolling up who's not been around here for ages. In about half an hour's time, Thomas Anderson's going to be joining us later in the show. We've got the usual crew here ready to talk genius, wisdom level communication. Let's start the show. The whole of England and Great Britain's gone jolly old flag-tastic bonkers over the last few days. See, we do a show about flags, everybody's catching on. Yep, flags everywhere, even etched on people's underwear or something like that. It's just been a flag-tastic sort of time of it over here, much to the chagrin of the usual suspects. People are getting quite worried. I'm hoping that most of you have seen some of the sorts of worried looks and comments from the usual chattering classes. What's going on? The English seem to care about their own nation. What an amazing turn of events. So I think we're way ahead of the curve here on this show. As you remember, we had Hannah on about 4 weeks ago. Or is it 3 weeks ago? Or is it 5 weeks ago? I can't remember. A week's not very long around here, is it, these days? And we were talking about that white Anglo-Saxon dragon flag, which I haven't seen many of yet, so it shows you there's a huge market for it. But it's been very encouraging to see the Union Jacks and the St. George crosses going up all over the place. I got a phone call yesterday, actually, from Gary. Shout out to Gary. Maleficus Scott knows him. You might have heard Maleficus reference Gary a few times. He had him on his show a few months ago or a few weeks back. And Gary is based in and lives up and around Birmingham. And he called me the other day, to... oh, hang on just a minute. I've got a little problem. I always have a tech problem. Why is it doubled up? It's doubled up, is it? That doesn't make sense. Sorry about this, everybody. We've got a finagling thing going on. Oh, hang on just a minute. Let me just check. Sorry, we've got a doubling up of sound for some reason, and I don't quite know why, but these things do happen. I was hoping to make a completely silky start of things today, but apparently not. Let me just check a few things. You might hear me coming back at myself in a second. 5 times this sort of thing happens. Doesn't make too much sense to me, but there we go. Let's have a look. Doubling up of sound for some reason, and I don't quite know why, but these things do happen. It seems all right. I was hoping to make a completely silky start of things today, but apparently not. Let me just check. Let me just have a look here. I wonder what's taking place. Sorry about this, everybody. These things sometimes do happen. Let me just check a couple of things here. What could possibly be causing that? I haven't changed anything. He said, honest. Yeah, hi, Paul.
To the show was so hilariously joyful, and it just set the tone for probably the most enjoyable show that I've ever been a part of. So I just wanted to thank you for that,
right.
For that hiccup at the beginning.
It's all downhill. Oh, I know what's doubling it up. Sorry. Just found out what it was. Thank you. I think that should have nipped it in the bud, Patrick, if you can let me know. I'll bring you in a little while. Thanks very much. Sorry about that on Soapbox. We were doubling up. I just found out what it is. My brain's actually still working. Got so many screens open here. I say this all the time. You must be bored of hearing me say it. I'm bored of actually saying it. So this is a much more sober start. It's not as hilarious and as hectic as the other week. I was actually hoping that we should start the show completely mad and bonkers with the whole thing. Anyway, yeah. We're down to one presence on it right now. Cool, fantastic. We've got the okay. Sorry about that. I just want you to know that I'm not the only person cursed with this stuff. Anybody that, if you tuned into Ria's show on Sunday, shout out to everybody on WBN, by the way. There was a bit of a technical moment there with dead air for 5 or 6 minutes or so, all to do with hardware letting us down. So anyway, it just comes with the territory. I guess you're all kind of used to it now. So good job, I've tidied it up. Now, where was I? Oh, yeah, I was just talking about Gary and had a chat with him the other day about T-shirts, these T-shirts and things for getting white dragons and stuff on them. The flags are still a work in progress, trying to find a high-quality flag maker. They do exist, of course. I've just not really fully got around to it. But I was asking him what it was like in and around Birmingham. This would be Thursday morning. No, Wednesday morning. It's Thursday today, isn't it? Yesterday morning. And he said there were a lot of flags around. So I'm just letting you know. So we're on the cutting edge here. I don't think you need to be a genius to understand the power of flags, but it's really hit home again. Somebody actually sent me a really inordinately silly flag today that's apparently going to be the replacement Union Jack. It's full of all these rainbow colours and all this kind of stuff. It's a spoof or something by, the usual suspects, I would imagine. But it's great. It's put the wind up them. I think this is really rather fantastic stuff. Anyway, welcome everybody to the show. Welcome to the crew that are on the show, if I can just find you, because I've lost you now. Hang on just a minute. Here we go. There we go. Yep. Hi. So, Eric, anyway, good evening and welcome to the show. How are you? You've been out not having fun, I understand. Is that right?
Greetings. Yes. I was going to go out for an evening where when you use refined water and that. Bloody hell, what's the word? Like a pendulum you used to find. Anyway, I was going to do
dowsing.
That's it. That's the word I was looking for. Dowsing.
You were off out for a bit of dowsing. Okay.
I was going to go for a bit of dowsing to a place from 6:30 till 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
And I was a bit late on what I was working on, and I thought, sod it. I think the Paul English show is far more important than dowsing, so I decided to be a good boy and come on your show. If you believe that bullshit, believe anything.
Well, of course. And you took a leak before the show, so you found water quite easily that way, didn't you?
Yes.
So there's always
that's right. Yes.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yes, I gave my contribution to Birmingham's water supply, so there we go.
Is there such a, as you were saying the word dowsing, I thought, now I want some dowser trousers. There's got to be dowser trousers.
Yes.
Because you're a dowser, right? So if you go dowsing, you're a dowser. So are there such things as dowser's trousers? There ought to be.
There may be. Well, actually,
just sounds grand.
If you go barefoot on the land, there's one bloke who's a scientist who's looked into it, and he reckons that we're like batteries, and one leg is negative and the other leg is positive, and we sort of charge up from the earth. So there we go.
Which is which? Is it the left that's positive or the right?
So,
yeah. I don't go barefoot. I sometimes in the wheat fields I go bare naked at 8 o'clock at night and terrify all the local residents. No, I don't really, but I do a Reggie Perrin.
So do I. And
I do a Reggie Perrin.
Really?
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I do occasionally, and my case comes up next week.
Does it? They actually, if outside of this conversation, if you don't know what Reggie Perrin is, there was a very witty and slightly surreal British comedy series in the, when would it be? Was it late 70s, early 80s, something like that?
It was about mid-70s, and it was called, was it the Fall and Rise of Reginald Perrin, or a Rise and Fall of Reginald Perrin? I
think it was maybe the Rise and Fall, and then they did a sequence which was the Fall and Rise or whatever. But the opening sequence, he comes down to a beach. He's basically, it's all the opening credits, and he's a bit naffed off with life, or at least you find this out as the opening episode unfolds. And he comes down to a beach, he takes all his clothes off and puts them, all of them. It's a bit risque, really, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah,
you don't see any of the naughty bits, thankfully. Good grief.
No.
Not particularly after you've had Yorkshire pudding and stew. It's a frightful sight. And he runs off into the sea, swims about a bit, and comes back out again. And basically, this was him faking his own death. What I would like you to know is that sequence was shot on the very beach that I've been walking by this evening. How about that?
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
It's
And
my
it was
local beach.
looked like midwinter where they did it because he looked bloody cold.
Yeah, I think it probably was. It probably was. And so if I were to go Reggie Perrin, there's history around here for that sort of thing. It happens. They even sent a film crew down here to do it. Yeah, so all that kind of stuff.
And he worked for Sunshine Desserts. And in his boss's room, the boss had a flatulent seat, didn't he? So every time he sat down, there was a sort
CJ.
CJ, yes, CJ.
I loved CJ.
And do you remember that? Was it great, super?
Oh yeah, the sycophantic, that's super CJ. Yeah. Super great, fantastic.
So
there
what
were
we
two
got
of
to
them,
do
weren't
is,
there?
yeah,
And the
that's
other
right.
one used
great,
to say, "That's
super."
That's, what did he? The other one he said, "That's so Arizona City fantastic," or something really garbage like that. Remember that? He used to come out with
That's
that
right.
junk. He did. And then CJ was always getting hold of Reggie. He goes, "Reggie, I didn't get where I am today by not looking at gift horse in the mouth, Reggie." That kind of thing. I loved CJ. He was brilliant, wasn't he? He had the most enormous head.
CJ was, yes. What an actor. And what I like about Reginald Perrin is he opened a load of shops called grot shops where he sold grotty stuff to people that lacked taste. And it was a success.
I know. But isn't that kind of what we talk about here, like counterintuitive cultural marketing? So,
yes.
yeah, he opened this shop. It was Grot, Grott, and it was just full of crap. And people loved it. They loved it, didn't they? And it just took off, much to his chagrin. He was a bit cheesed off about this. And he couldn't stop it being a success. He was trying to sort of ruin everything. And then Grot became a multinational corporation with tentacles, or should I say testicles, all over the world doing things. Yeah, it was pretty cool. I quite liked that. I think they did a remake, but it wasn't going to be the same.
Right.
It wasn't
the same.
No.
But that Reggie Perrin, I was a bit of a real fan of that. The remake was rubbish. I only saw about a couple of minutes of it, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I like was it. He was a success most of his life, and he wanted to be a failure. That was the thing, wasn't it, or something like that?
Yes.
But everything.
I can kind of identify with that. It's the other way around, really. I think I've managed to achieve that quite naturally without even trying, frankly. I don't know what you think. I mean, it comes effortless to some of us, all that.
What I like, though, is, with CJ, they're all crawling around him, weren't they, all the time?
Yes,
sir.
CJ.
No, sir. Yes. And CJ says, right, we're going to expand our marketing to the continent. And the two sycophants, great, super.
You do that too well. We're going to have to get some scripts and redo it. Billy, by the way, shout out to everybody in Rumble Chat and YouTube Chat. Good evening or good afternoon to you, depending on what part of the world you're in, or even good middle of the night if you're an Australian. Billy Silver writes, the Martin Clunes version was actually quite good. Okay, I'm going to have to defer to you because I never got around to watching it. I think it's by the time that came around, I'd kind of stopped watching TV much. When was that? About 20 years ago? Maybe it's even older than that. The interesting thing about Reggie Perrin, and this taps into what we were talking about on Monday, is that Reggie Perrin was played by the actor Leonard Rossiter, who appeared in many Stanley Kubrick films. Did he not?
That's right.
He did.
I think about the only one he didn't appear in was The Shining. Mind you, he might have had a walk-on part in that as we didn't notice it, but he was on all the English ones. He's in, wasn't he?
Yeah.
But as we were saying on Monday, I still think Kubrick's finest film was. I've forgotten the bleeding name of it now.
That one. But it's so good.
That one.
You're
it's
so
bloody
overwhelmed
good,
by it that you can't remember.
Yes, I can't remember the bleeding name, yeah.
It's the one with Ryan O'Neill and Leonard Rossiter.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah.
And,
yeah.
Hang on, what the bleeding name? Do you know, it's just gone
I'm enjoying your discomfort. I'm quite enjoying it. I can just
Barry
hear
Lyndon.
your brain reaching for it. It's fantastic.
My prompt has come to the rescue. Thank you, Patrick. It's Barry Lyndon, yes.
Yeah.
I think that was the best Kubrick film there was. I don't think, some people say it's a Shining. No, I think it's Barry Lyndon. It was perfection, the nearest to it you could get.
Yeah.
There'll never be another Kubrick, I don't think.
Well, you know what? I've got the joy of actually watching all of that because I think I've only ever watched the opening 20, 25 minutes, and then for whatever reason, but it does look pretty cool. I think there was a new recut of it done about 2016 or something, or an enhanced version of it, where they'd played with all the quality of the images. But one of the things that I didn't mention the other night when we touched upon this was that this project that he had to do the life of Napoleon. I think I just touched on it briefly, and I went off and read a bit more about it. So this was, and I have to say, I wished he had done that, although it couldn't have been one film. It would have had to be at least a trilogy, as we've mentioned before, because there's just too much to cram in. It's sort of silly. But he read, by way of research, because I think that was the next project he was about to do, because he died, I would say, relatively young at the age of 70, as we said, only a day or so after this private screening of Eyes Wide Shut. But he'd read 200 books on Napoleon as part of his research.
Wow.
That's how you do it. It's got to be done like that. And I don't know if here's another interesting quirky fact. There are two people in recent history of whom more books have been written than anybody else, like off the charts. One is Adolf Hitler, and the other one is Napoleon Bonaparte, and they're both in excess of 100,000 books each. Different titles. All. It's amazing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've just, interested, for people that are into all this kind of stuff, and I am sort of, I think the whole thing with the French Revolution, that period of history is repeating itself. What goes around comes around, different form, but same sort of essence to the whole thing. I'm sure many of you are aware of that. What was I going to say? Brain's gone. Look, I'm having a senior moment.
Patrick has just my number one prompt has just said, he's looked this up and he said Barry Lyndon is a 1975 historical drama film written, directed and produced by Stanley Kubrick, based on the 1844 novel The Luck of where is it? The screen's just gone a bit. Barry Lyndon, by William Makepeace Thackeray. What a name, William Makepeace Thackeray.
Yeah.
You can just imagine William Makepeace, writing it with his quill, and so there you go.
Well, Makepeace is quite nice, actually. Maybe we should all adopt it as a middle name and go around going, "Hey, man," and flower power and all that. I know what I was going to tap into. I was talking with Malefica Scott last night, and he recommended a book to me. So I looked it up online, and I managed to get a copy there and then for £3.75. They don't call me Tommy Tightwad for nothing, including postage and packing, from Amazon, a used copy, but in very good to excellent condition, it said. I'm going, good grief. It's called, it just sounds amazing. And Maleficus was telling me, he said it's absolutely fantastic. It's called The Letters of Private Wheeler. And Wheeler fought at Waterloo and was part of the British Army across Europe and the Peninsular Wars. And it's his letters that he wrote. Apparently they're of a literary very high standard, and they revealed things about the soldier's life 200 years ago, which I saw some of the comments said it's not too dissimilar to today. He's crawling on his belly to get sort of like within 8 feet of a listening post where there are French troops, all this kind of stuff. And then, although I haven't even got it yet, it's due to be here, they were saying that after the Battle of Waterloo, they went to Paris, right? The British Army, many of them went to Paris and were treated great. They went to these restaurants and everything. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, it's just weird. It's like, oh, we're not fighting. We can't fight all the time. We've got to eat. It's just a different world, isn't it? It's so I'm looking forward to getting into that, because anything that's written firsthand, from people involved in it, can be gripping in a way that other things often cannot be. So, not that this necessarily has to be a show about Waterloo, although it's a fascinating event a bit like World War II, because of the run up to it and all that kind of stuff,
Yes. And apparently when they were charging, when they had cannonballs, they could actually see the balls coming towards them and sort of duck out and move out of the way. But then the enemy got wise to that, so they tied 2 cannonballs to a chain. Yeah. So you had 2 cannonballs coming towards you with a chain, and that would be even more lethal. But apparently you could actually, very quickly, you could move out their way. Yeah. If you're quick. But,
well, I remember reading a report of a guy I don't know whether it was at Waterloo. I think it was. I mean, it sounds, like I'm bound to say that. There were loads of battles, so it might not have been. But I'm pretty sure in this case it was. A British guy was talking to his colonel who was stood next to him about 5 feet away. A bang went off. He said, I looked over and the colonel's head had disappeared. It basically, a cannonball had just literally taken his head clean off. This sort of stuff was going on all the time. Yeah. Quite grim.
What about...
It's not like shopping at Aldi. It's a little bit calmer going down there. Just a little bit.
What about a bloke who had his leg shot off and he was one of the high-ups? I don't know who it was. And he said to the general, he said, the leg's gone. And the general looked around and said, oh, yes, so it has. As calm as that. The leg's gone, yes, so it has. They were made of something else in those days. Christ knows what it was, but bloody tough. They really were.
I don't know. Or maybe these are just apocryphal tales where they big themselves up for their... I can't imagine it was all super pleasant. I mean, I just can't really. But yeah, it was different. Right. I think, we've said this, people were just leatherier, weren't they? They would be generally in life more leathery.
Yes.
You would. You're out in the, you'd be pleased with me today. Well, I don't know if that's the right thing to say. Sounds as I'm a good school kid. I think I mentioned I had to go to the dentist today. And
yes.
Yeah. And it's...
Did you give him a mouthful? Sorry.
No, but I'll remember that next time I go, which is going to be September the 11th. How about that? What a date they picked for me. And September the 11th. They're taking 2 teeth out. No, they're not. I just made that up. And so I was not kind of really looking forward to it. Yeah, because anyway, I'm furious about my teeth, really. Give me such grief. It's exhausting, really. And I was in a lot of pain over the weekend. Yeah, anyway, I goes up there expecting to see the same crew I saw before, but I was in for an extremely pleasant surprise. Really? There was a new dentist there, a lady dentist who was fantastic. I mean, she was pretty, she was young, but her energy was just brilliant. And because I'd been planning to go private, I'd looked at the costs. I can't afford it, but I want my teeth doing that bad. I'll remortgage the house or whatever I have to, or rob old ladies to do it. It's that bad, right?
Yes.
I would never do that, of course. This is a sick, evil joke that I just told, and it's not even funny. But so I go in, and she was just brilliant. It was absolutely fantastic, really good. She went through all the teeth, and she said, your teeth are not that bad. I said, oh, that's nice to hear something. She said, there's just this one at the back, and I know which one it is. And she took a photograph of it with this little camera, which seemed to be even neater than the ones I'd seen before. It was like a little light on the end of like a pencil. She just said, open your cake hole. I went, all right. And she took a picture of that. And then there was a little scan on the cheek, and she said, look, here's where all the inflammation is. So I've got a bacterial infection above this tooth, and this is what causes me to get an abscess every now and again. And I'm kind of figuring there's got to be some way, there's got to be some strange, weird food or something that I could take that would hammer that. I don't care what it is. There's got to be something that can get into my blood system and get hold of that bacteria at the top of the tooth and start kicking shit out of it, excuse my French. But I really want it to happen. And one of the problems is, I always like talking teeth, everybody. A root canal is 1,100 quid. Good job I had 5 of them done then. No, I haven't had 5. I've had 3. So that would cost me 3,000.
I wouldn't advise it. I wouldn't advise a root canal.
Well, have I ever told you my classic root... I'll tell you it in a second. I've said it here before, but I've got an amazing root canal story where it went badly wrong. But today, it just went well. What's happened is I had a tooth extracted about 7 or 8 years ago below this tooth that's causing all the problem. And you don't realise this before you have your teeth taken out. I mean, I should do. I'm what a thicko. But because there's no tooth at the bottom pushing back against the tooth at the top just keeps bloody growing. It's got no kickback pressure to keep it in place. It just keeps... And this is causing it to become more infected, as it were. It's just an absolute bugger. I've also got a gap between 2 teeth, which... When I go out to a restaurant, I always go with floss. I have to, because of this one particular gap, because half of my meal ends up stuck in this gap. And I'm pulling out huge lumps of steak afterwards, going, it'll keep me, all this, that, and the other. So anyway, I've got a little plan. It's all sorted out. I'm not having mercury fillings. I want them all removed. I've got about 5 to come out. This is the first one. There's another 4 in my mouth. I've got to go. I've got a gold tooth because I did want to look like a pirate, and I do, but it's not at the front, it's at the back. So I have to really open my mouth wide, as pirates often used to.
That's right.
And but I came out of there. It was great. And I went up on my bike. That was what I wanted to tell you. I was late, so I
Excellent.
jumped on the bike. It was a lovely morning, and I felt invigorated going onto the bike. And I thought, I need to really sort my biking out and get back into this, because it was just, it was good. You feel like every time you get on your bike, you feel like a big kid, right?
Oh, crumbs. It's fantastic. And also what I like is being a tight-fisted git, you're cycling on and thinking, this is free.
Yeah.
Another thing I like cycling next to traffic jams, because did I ever tell you I was cycling down a bus lane once, which you're allowed to do, it's quite legal.
Yeah.
And there was a Porsche sitting in this traffic jam, and he's just going along very, very slowly, and I'm sort of going sneering, going shoom, straight past him. The other good funny thing to do is break the speed limit on a push bike if it's a 20-mile-an-hour zone. That's another fun one.
Well, you're going to be breaking it all the time
that's
if they
quite
have
legal as
their
well, 'cause
wicked
you
way.
officially
It's going to
haven't
be
got a
20
speed-
miles an hour everywhere, isn't it? Isn't that what
Yes.
they're going to do? Yeah.
Well, I think it's be on the motorways, wouldn't it? You know, I
Yeah.
think it'd be a 20-mile motorway thing.
Anyway, can I tell you my root canal story? I'll tell you my root canal
Yes,
story.
certainly.
We're going to go to a song in a few minutes, then we're going to bring our guest in just after the half-hour mark. Thomas Anderson is waiting in the wings, chomping at the bit. This would be in the 90s when I was living in Wimbledon, and it was a Friday, and I was in a lot of pain. So I went to see the dentist, and they said, root canal. I said, yeah, okay, get on with it. He said, we can do it now because I'm free all afternoon. Everybody's, we're not booked in. I said, get on with it. This is about 1 o'clock. So they do a root canal, and I go home, and the Novocaine is wearing off, and I'm in agony, and they'd done the wrong tooth.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I'm serious. So I go back, I call them up and said, I'm not going to be able to get through the weekend unless you actually give me whatever it is. Can I cut my own head off? I said, I can't even think it's that bad. It was awful, right? It was really, I hate it. I really hate it. I sound like a big baby, don't I? Well, I am. When it comes to toothache, I'm not particularly manly about it. It drives me nuts.
I've been there, seen it. I can't stand toothache.
I bloody
It's
hate
terrible,
it. It's
isn't
just, I can't think. That's what I'm going. I'm not in charge of my brain anymore. It's just a big thing going on. So I go back at 4 o'clock. Because my mouth was all swollen from the previous one, it was a tremendous challenge for the dentist to get the needle back in to stick more Novocaine in to renumb it. And the needle, I'm not kidding, I was counting on my figure, went into the skin 26 times before she got the nerve. That was great.
Hey,
I was
Paul.
going,
Well-
but it doesn't end there. So then she does the second one, and it was the right tooth. Although I didn't know it at the time. I go home. I'd not eaten all day because you're not supposed to eat for all these things, right? I'm full of Novocaine. I didn't know any of this stuff. I go home. I'm knackered. I think I need a bath. So I get in the bath. Big mistake. I get out of the bath. I'm in the bath for about half an hour. Nice and warm. Felt brilliant. Yeah. I got out of the bath. I sat on the chair next to the bath, and I collapsed. That's the last I remember of it. And Kath came in, and she was telling me she was panicking because I was just completely unconscious, and they had to call for the ambulance. How dramatic is this? It's pathetic, isn't it?
Yeah.
And they came and saw me, and they measured my blood pressure and said, "You've barely got any blood pressure." I said, "Oh." And they asked me what had been happening. And I told them about the amount of Novocaine that had gone into my body. They said, right. They said, well, what Novocaine does is it lowers your blood pressure. I said, okay. And then you got into a warm bath. I said, yeah. She said, well, that spreads the blood out even further across your entire body. So your blood pressure dropped even further. And then when you got out of the bath and you sat upright, your heart went to pump something to keep you conscious, and there was nothing there. Bang. And I'll tell you the really weird thing. How about this? You see those sequences in films where everybody's life, their entire life flashes before them. You know that thing?
Yeah. I know what you mean, yes. They say it does.
This happened to me, and I'll tell you how it happened visually. When you see those calendars in films that turn over with the dates, like sheets of paper getting torn off, and they're just on a big sort of Rolodex type thing.
Yeah.
Well, I was looking at a wall as I was unconscious in my sort of last vestiges of consciousness. And on this wall, there must have been a grid of about 100 of these things, like 10 by 10, a big square on the wall. And all of them were all turning over at once, and they all had images of my life. And I could just, it was like a blur, a download of everything that had taken place. That's pretty cool, really, isn't it? I'd not thought that that would be a way in which you could see it.
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, I suppose it keeps you amused while she's snuffing it, doesn't it? I mean, you've got something to do then, haven't you? You know, I mean,
it does. It does.
Yes, but did I ever tell you the time when I went to when I was young, and the same with you, did you know that dentists used to get a bonus for how many fillings they gave? So that's why when you went to the dentist,
I was telling this Greek last night this morning. I was telling her, I said, because we were talking about mercury fillings. She said, do you want a mercury filling, 70 quid? Or do you want a white one, 200? I said, 200 quid. I said, I'm loaded.
Hang on.
Yeah?
Hold on. I paid 80 quid for my
Oh, you need to get your teeth done down here where Reggie Perrin used to get his teeth done, mate. It's
80
cheap
quid.
as 70 quid.
70?
Hey, Paul.
73 quid.
That's not bad. And does she do it without an anaesthetic? Because I don't have an anaesthetic when I have my fillings done.
Yeah. And Sally writes here, she says, what Paul is describing sounds like a near-death experience. I guess it was.
Yes, it was.
Yes.
It was.
And what happened to,
So
Miles?
Be careful if you're going for a root canal, everybody. I
talk
took
about
a root canal and it killed me.
Well, what happened with Miles,
Yeah.
he went into a mate of his as a dentist.
Yeah.
And he went there and he said, oh, it's all right. He said, I don't have an anaesthetic. It's perfectly okay.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't realise that the bloke was giving him a root canal. And he said, he went going, he said, hang on a minute. You're doing a root canal? I said, yeah. Well, it's not like that. A little root canal.
Yeah.
Yes, he said, I thought it was a bit odd. But
I'll tell you what, the actual root canal operation, Eric, I didn't find it squeamish at all. I knew what they were going to do. It's just like a big farting around filling. I went, that's all right. But one of the teeth I've got gold capped, as I said now at the end. Anyway, let's go to a song. You know this song.
Just a moment.
Oh, Paul, yes?
Let me see. Let me see if I can help you with your infection in your gum.
Yeah.
I had a Wi-Fi router that failed. Mm-hmm. And when I got that router 6 years ago, I told the tech to remote into it and turn off the 5G radio, which he did.
Yeah.
Well, that router failed. And when they sent the replacement, I called the tech and I said, turn off the 5G radio. He said, we can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
Within 3 days of having that 5G router within 5 feet of my head, I came up with a tooth infection that infected my entire upper jaw. My upper lip felt like I was a supermodel and I had taken Botox injections or whatever, or collagen injections. It was absolutely horrible.
Wow.
The pain, unbelievable. Chewing aspirin left and right. The short story that I shouldn't have made long is I rinsed out my mouth with 3 drops of chlorine dioxide and 1 ounce of water for 60 seconds twice a day, and that infection was gone in fewer days than it took for it to show up.
Okay, I'm gonna quiz you after the show about that. I need to make a note of that. I mean, what I've been doing, what I've been doing, just to let you know, and I mentioned it to her, I brush my teeth with coconut oil. That's one thing. And the other thing before that is I put salt water in a glass of distilled water and do a mouth gargle. I've been told if you do the salt thing and then do the coconut thing, those two things kill off loads of nasties in your mouth. But I need to attack bacteria that's in the root of the tooth that's inside me. It's not on the out. You can't get to it from the outside. I need something I need sort of like, kryptonite I need some liquid kryptonite that kills bugs at the top of teeth. Because it's cracked. This tooth is cracked and that's why it gets infected.
Garlic will kill it. Garlic is marvellous.
I know.
But
let's go to a song. Well, look, we can carry on talking about teeth afterwards because I want to bring Thomas on. Let's go to this song. You all know this song. It's an intermediary song. It's a German band singing about a great English chap. We play this quite regularly, but you can't resist. This is the man with the big cigar, and then we're going to bring on the man who's written a lot of books. Thomas Anderson will be with us after this song. See you all on the other side of this.
with the big cigar, whose greatest friend is the USSR. He's known around from near and far, that actor man with the big cigar. He puffs away every night and day with a twinkle in his eye, and all the while behind that smile lurks many an untold lie. Down Whitehall Way you'll see his car. He's here, he's there, he's everywhere, the friend of the USSR. Westens is the slogan of his land, and he'll fight until it's finished, and there's no one left to stand. He'll keep the red flag flying, though hammered black and blue, for he's getting more than he bargained for, that fat friend of the Jew. So keep your chins up, one and all, and remember what I say. If Britons were to Britain true, they'd send that man away. Who is that man with the big cigar? He's here, he's there, he's everywhere, that man with the big cigar.
Attention all listeners, are you seeking uninterrupted access to WBN 324 Talk Radio despite incoming censorship hurdles? Well, it's a breeze. Just grab and download Opera Browser, then type in WBN324.zil. And stay tuned for unfiltered discussions around the clock. That's WBN324.zil.
The views, opinions and content of the show hosts and their guests appearing on the World Broadcasting Network are their own and do not necessarily reflect those of its owners, partners and other hosts or this network. Thank you for listening to WBN 324 Talk Radio.
And welcome back. And that wasn't a top of the hour break. We just take the breaks whenever we feel like it because it's mayhem around here. We couldn't bear too much talk about teeth. But anyway, welcome back to the next part. And Thomas Anderson has joined us. And Thomas, were you enjoying all the chat about teeth?
If you read my comments, you see that I was listening very good, and I liked some of the stories. The listeners cannot, of course, read what I just wrote in the chat. You were talking about inflammations of your teeth, and for those who listen to our show, I would like to add that I had the same experience some months ago, and before that, I don't know, half a year ago or something, I read about oregano oil having better anti-inflammation efficiency than normal antibiotics.
Right.
So I just bought some oregano oil, and it stood here for doing nothing, and then I recognized that it was hard to make some bites in, for example, hard bread, etc. It hurt, and then I took, as it was described, a very small glass with oil of olives, 2 or 3 centimeters only, and then only 3 drops of this oregano oil, and stuck it in between my teeth and around in my mouth. And within only one night, this inflammation was gone.
Right. Oregano oil, or oregano, as we say over here in the jolly old England thing. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah, oregano.
Yeah, it was
Do you call it
very
oregano,
interesting.
Paul? What do they call it in America? Is it called oregano?
It's oregano, and the way I did 3 drops of chlorine dioxide. You rinse your mouth out with it, swish it around, particularly in the area, even if you have to tip your head down, so it's in contact with every part of your gum, and some of the chlorine dioxide soaks in through the skin and goes to attack the infection directly, and then after you've swished it around in your mouth, I know it's gross, but do it anyway, swallow it. That gets it into the stomach, it gets it into the bloodstream, and then it goes everywhere. And all it took was 3 days. No antibiotics, no nothing, and I could barely talk. My lip and my jaw was so swollen, I could feel it in the roof of my mouth.
Well, I'm going to have to get
Try
around
it.
to looking at the oregano then, as I will pronounce it. But yeah, I know Eric was mentioning about the garlic. The garlic has been my lifesaver. I've got bulbs of it here, and I've been earlier in the week I had a clove, and I cut it in half so that there's a big sheet of freshly exposed garlic. I had it in my mouth all night while I slept. I just trapped it in the gum, so it was in there for like 8-9 hours. I did that for a couple of days and it works. It's the most phenomenal antibiotic. Anyway, I'm trusting, Thomas, that your teeth are okay then. Your teeth are fine.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, fine.
Good. And it's some months since you were here. Now, I think, probably mistakenly, the last time we spoke was about the bell. But did we speak after that? I mean, my mind's scrambled. I can't remember whether we did. I just remember the Bell episode as being so interesting. If you came on afterwards, that doesn't mean to say that it was dull. It's just that the Bell one really sticks out in my mind. But maybe you did. Maybe you came back after that. How puzzling. I don't know.
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah, well, none of us remember. This is a good sign. I'm glad that I'm not the only one that's incredibly forgetful about what we've all just done recently. Anyway, how have things been for you? Have you been doing much writing recently, or is this something that's not as big a part of your day-to-day situation, or are you on with books? Because many people won't know that you are a prolific producer of books in the German language, obviously, covering many of the areas that we cover here on the show.
I would like to add that they're also available in English, if you know that.
English? What's that? They're phasing that out, are they? Yes, I do. I do know about English. Yes, I've kind of heard about that. Yeah, they are in English as well, everybody. Thomas Anderson, you're on Amazon, is that right? You're still on Amazon, your books?
Yes.
Cool. Yeah. So
I've not been to in much writing. There is one book on the way. Let us tell like that, but it will be a very long way. From time to time, let's say 6 months, and then again 6 months pausing. Then I perhaps write some lines, translate something, and then add some 2 or 3 pages. But it will take an awful long time to finish that book.
Right. Do I dare ask what it's addressing, what it's covering, or is this secret squirrel?
It covers a topic that was covered already by a British author very long ago. It is about some inner world populations which have been discovered by German and British researchers around 1600 and 1700. So it's very, very long ago. Yeah. And those populations have been there already at that time and are still there today.
So, dwellers of the inner earth, is that roughly what it's about?
No, there's just simply populations within the inner earth. They don't have to dwell something. There are many caves as big as Texas or even bigger. So there's lots of space to live in.
Do you think there's enough space for us to go there? What do you think?
More than enough, but I don't know if they want us there.
If you could get a map and get something sorted out, Thomas, this might be coming quite useful. We could go off on a hiking expedition and get down to these caves. That's the first. I mean, I've heard, obviously, or read intermittently about the inner earth and all of these other things. I remember the one I always remember is the Smoky God, which is about this the trip of a father and son, Norwegian father and son, in the I think it's 30s or 40s, to the Lofoten Islands, where they get knocked off course, basically, or all their little simple compass in their fishing vessel goes completely wonky, and they end up literally floating their boat inside the earth, where there is a giant sun wreathed in smoke, which the people that live down there, who are about 9 feet tall, refer to as the smoky god. So I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by what you're about to write about, but it's going to take a long time, so I better not get too intrigued, had I? I'm going
to go.
Sorry, you just broke up there. We're not quite picking you up as fully as we would like to. Are you there?
It will definitely take some more years to finish that book.
Yep. Anyway, what's the situation like in good old Germany? I don't think you directly live there, but I'm assuming that you've got a very close eye on it. What's the are there any sort of markedly interesting or even uninteresting but marked things that are springing up in German public discourse, or in terms of the whoop and woof of German life?
I guess for those who didn't wake up already, it's business as usual and the normal disgusting politics. For those who woke up already, it's all the same. It's still the same old disgusting politics, and nothing very new. The politicians in Germany before the elections promised to lower taxes, to lower prices here and there, but of course after the elections they forgot all these promises, and now the prices are rising again, and the tax system is still the same, and they won't put them down on electricity, for example, which they have promised, and some more. Next year, on 1st of January, we will pay €1 per every liter of diesel and oil for heating more, because it's €1 plus on every liter beginning in January. So the people are more and more recognizing that this system will not help them, will not save them their money. It's still the same old story.
Yeah. So same as here then.
I must. Yeah, I must confess. Every time I take a look at the Great Britain, I am very surprised, because I always thought in the past. At least I feel a little bit better. In the past, I always thought that Germany is really the worst place in Europe, but it seems that in Great Britain the situation is even worse. Meanwhile, I read a lot and I hear a lot about let's call it migration problems.
Yeah,
and it seems even worse than in German cities. In German cities, we hear more and more about some smaller riots. We hear from time to time when accidentally some of these stories gets into some of these newspapers. We hear from knife attacks. There's even a website in Germany where you can read a map and you have a statistic, and on what day you have how many knife attacks in Germany, in which city. I think there are around some 100 every day. Meanwhile, so it's not a very small number, and we hear about rapes of young women and even very small children. And the rapists are the usual suspects. Yeah, let's call it like that.
Mm-hmm. The Eskimos.
The Eskimos. Yeah. I even heard one very disgusting story about one of these guys raping an 80-year-old lady on the burial site of her husband. So that was really out of any frame of discussion. Mm-hmm. But things like this happen now in Germany, and I guess also in Great Britain. And we have to deal with it somehow.
Yeah, we do. I think, I was mentioning there in the first bit, we've had a big a big uprising of flag flying over here over the last week or so. I haven't noted any directly new ones in my area, although about a mile from where I'm sitting going west, the houses there are always flying them anyway. They've been flying them for years. But I'm looking at my street and the surrounding area and I'm thinking it's time to get everybody flagged up. But I'm expecting that if we do that, we will all start to get little visits from the wet people and their little emissaries coming around saying you can't do this. I mean, I saw there was a discussion. I got a clip earlier today. I'm not going to play all these clips. There's a lot of them. But there was a clip I saw, some English guy saying that this was really bad, because it's making other people feel uncomfortable. And it's literally, it's the people I would suggest who appear to be on our side and ought to be traditionally, who are so soft and have lost all sorts of sense of proportion about things. They are the main problem. There's a huge number of them, unfortunately. They completely succumbed to a kind of nonsense ideology about happiness and all this other stuff, which clearly is not being achieved. And yet they're so addicted to their ideology that they'll never ever back down. They're incapable of doing it. I mean, I'm assuming you've got a similar sort of cultural divide there. Let's call it that for now. Is it sort of quite clear about the people that are loyal to Germany and the traditions of Germany, and the sort of newly created Borg people that are not? I'm assuming you've got something similar.
Yes, of course. It's quite the same. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all coming out and supporting everybody. People getting very worried about people actually showing a little bit of passion and interest in their own people. I got sent a document the other day. I don't know by who originated, and I was thinking it might be quite fun to read a bit of this out. Where is it now? This just comes from a clandestine meeting somewhere in deepest, darkest Cornwall, I believe. So I'm not going to attribute it to anybody because I think it's sensible, but it was a little document called What is Nationalism? And there's about 9 points on it. And I quite liked it. And stop me at any point, anybody, if you want to stop me on this, because it really addresses, I think, in good part, those sorts of sentences that need to be said more. We talk about this a bit round here, about how to say certain things and is it possible to get them across. Its title, it says, What is Nationalism? So immediately a lot of people get worried by even reading that word. It says this: nationalism is to be proud of who you are. It is to have an unconditional love for your homeland and your people. Everybody okay with that? Say aye.
Yes.
Yeah, cool.
Yes.
That's the first one. Next one. It is someone with a powerful sense of belonging and loyalty to their tribe. Yeah, I'm on for that. That's cool. Whichever your tribe is, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. The next line. It is someone who honours and seeks to preserve the unique set of racial and cultural characteristics handed down to them from their ancestors. Count me in. Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I'm assuming, Thomas, that you're just nodding, but very quietly in case it's going to cause trouble. Okay.
Very quietly.
If anybody's just shout, it's probably best if you shout out no, or if you've got a query with any of these things. Next one. It is someone who knows they must defend to the last all that they hold dear, but must also extend respect and wish peace upon all other sovereign nations. I like that one a lot. I do. I think that's absolutely spot on. The next one. It is someone who believes in the right of your people to govern themselves solely in their best interests and in a manner entirely free from foreign control. Well, well, well. So both of our nations are currently enduring interference from foreign interests. Let's put it that way, I would suggest. The next one. It is someone who wants to leave their children a better world, cities with beautiful buildings, architecture, you see, you can never get away from this, cities with beautiful buildings, and happy, high-trust societies free from debt, slavery, and violence. Well, very difficult to not agree with that one. Yes. Next one. We're just over halfway through. It's nice and simple and to the point, this. It's someone who wishes to see an end to mass immigration and enforced multiracialism, and the authoritarian assault on our freedom of speech. Yes, please. That would be quite good. Although we're having a bit of a struggle with freedom of speech over here, Thomas, as you probably are aware. There are people that don't really sort of go in for it too much. The next one. It is someone who believes in traditional family values. Yep, top of the tree for me, that one. And wants to raise healthy, honest and productive children free from the poison of degenerate cultural Marxism. But I thought it was so good. I mean, John McTernan, who I mentioned last week, was proud to be called a Marxist goon. But then he is the man that said that we should do to the farmers what Margaret Thatcher did to the miners, which is to beat them up, basically, because we don't need farmers, according to this Marxist genius. He used to be in the government, by the way, Thomas, under Tony Blair about 20 years ago. That's how wonderful some of these chaps are. It is someone, it goes on, it says, it's someone who hopes to see a wonderful sense of national spirit and collectivism, I don't know about that word, rise and guide everything we do, and for the nation in return to once again truly protect and serve the individual. It just sounds great. I want all this stuff too. To be a nationalist is to be someone who realises that life doesn't have to be like it is today, that something much, much better is possible. Now ask yourself this, are you a nationalist? Well, I have to say, yes, I am, if that's what nationalism is all about. Comments, anyone? All gone very quiet.
Not so far.
No, it's all logical, isn't it, when you come to think about it?
It is.
Because what we're dealing with is insanity, total and utter insanity.
Yeah.
And I think we've got to ask ourselves the question, what has caused that insanity? Because previous generations, if they could have looked into the future, they wouldn't have believed what they're seeing. I mean, it just is bonkers what we're seeing. Total and utter bonkers. I really do think that communism is a mental illness, and I think it derives from what Professor Edward Dutton was saying, that people survived after and I'm not saying this is a bad thing, they survived after the Industrial Revolution, childbirth, where before the Industrial Revolution they wouldn't have, because we got a lot cleaner. We learned about cleanliness and hygiene, and that's why. And then when you think about it, when was it 1840s that Karl Marx was around?
Mm-hmm.
He was the forerunner of thinking up communism.
He was also very dirty.
And very dirty, yes. So
I don't
when
know
you
if
think
it was.
about it, that's it. But when you think about it, he was born in a sort of the first of the kind of industrial revolution type generation, and it's the city folk who don't like countryside who tend to be the Marxists and the communists. There's something about countryside they dislike. They love ugliness, and they yearn for ugliness all the time. Something wrong in the brain. That's my take on it.
Yeah.
Any questions on that? So, one man at the back, please.
Well, I know
Yes.
it's a regular theme that we return to here. I'm just wondering, Thomas, in your neck of the woods, have you got lots of beautiful buildings going up?
Well, if you take a look at the German cities, when you go around, nearly no matter where and in which German city, you see a lot of very modern buildings built up, of course, after 1945, and nearly all the cities have been bombed to the ground, and so quite everything is new. Of course, it had to be built in a very short amount of time, so they didn't care a lot for beauty. They took care for it, just building some space, no matter how it looks like, and so the modern German cities are not very pretty. The architecture is not very lovely compared to, for example, Vienna or Paris. Of course, also there you have a lot of very ugly buildings, but at least there are some older buildings there in the city where you can see how it looked like in the earlier days. Mm-hmm. When you take a look, for example, Rothenburg ob der Tauber, it's a city in German southern part. It's a very quite medieval kind of city, beautiful buildings from 1500, 1600, 1700, made of wood, etc. Very, very pretty. In Hildesheim, I know that they have a marketplace which had been restored to the original building structures there from the, I think it was 1700, 1800, something like that. So very old buildings, very good looking, but it was only the marketplace and nothing more. So I think if we would have the money, one of the very good things to do would be just make something pretty out of the cities again.
Yeah.
I agree.
We talk about this a lot. We do talk
Brutal
a lot about
architecture.
Yeah.
Yuck.
It's funny. I don't know whether it's something that you really begin to notice the older you get. You're kind of indifferent to it when you're young because everything's just a blur. It doesn't really matter. And you can just sort of make do with any sorts of stuff. But there is something fantastic, and you notice it more and more, about having an environment where the builders of the buildings, were making a great attempt to actually create beauty and to put it into your eye line and to have it be part of your life, because it is like an extension of your clothing in a way. It's all part of it. We're covered in all of this kind of stuff. And we've got, the onslaught is in every single area with the migrant thing, the violence that's come with that, the indifference of the government, the hideous, useless, wretched buildings that they're putting up, the hideous, useless, wretched people that are employed in positions of power, providing a hideous, wretched service that nobody wants, interfering with everybody's life. I had a guest on a few weeks ago, Hannah Bader. We were talking about flags. That was the sort of simple side of the conversation, but the more detailed side was, and I think we touched upon this in a previous show as well, Thomas. We were just talking about law. You were talking about German law and whether Germany actually exists. And this is something that certainly Hannah's looking at. The conversation over here really is, or one of the conversations, a key one, is to do with the law that we are compelled to be under the jurisdiction of. And when it's looked at, we don't like it, basically. It's not nice. It's not for our benefit. It's for the benefit of the lawmakers and the law controllers, in simple terms. And so the thought here is that we have to get back to the law of the land, which is to do with the traditions of English common law and of Magna Carta and those things. Do you have anything sort of similar over there, a kind of, I don't know, back to the land, back to the laws of the land type movement in Germany or in Central Europe that you're aware of? Is there anything like that going on?
We have the original constitution in Germany of the year 1871.
Right.
When I remember it right, this was the last fully legalized constitution in Germany. Astonishingly, the same year as in the United States, and I guess also in some other European countries. So this was where the mess in all the countries began. In the United States, they raised up a company, and in Germany they had the beginning of some law systems which were not based on a real legal state. So this all the legal right for their existence.
Right. I just wondered if there was something similar. I feel, we've got this tradition over here, for want of a better word. There's a history of the English being kind of sort of dynamically involved with the law. It's a funny thing because, when you go to school and stuff, it's literally the most boring topic ever. No one wants to talk about it. You can't talk about it anyway because they don't teach it to you. Of course, as the years go by, you realize that you should have been taught this. And it should have been explained to you exactly what it was and your condition in relation to the state and all these other words that we use all the time. But in simple terms, we have a service company over here called the government that's crap. They've always been crap. They've never been good. They run a big sort of distraction scam called voting every 4 or 5 years. Everybody thinks, well, if we vote the right people in, it's going to improve. They've thought that for my entire lifetime that I've witnessed personally, and from reading the history books, this seems to be the case going back hundreds of years, and it never ever works. It doesn't produce much. There have been intermittent periods of history where people have come along, and of course, although it is not, actually, it's not got the resistance it used to have. Although it's not a popular idea to suggest it, that doesn't mean to say it's not true. It is true, in my view, that obviously your nation enjoyed something closer to that than any of us have done, even though it ended in a disaster during the 1930s. Maybe I've got that wrong because I'm speaking at it from a distance and I can only learn it through the books and the history books that I've read. But certainly that runs counter to the established training that we get over here about how we're supposed to think about that. And we've mentioned it here, not only Mr. Hitler, but also Mr. Gaddafi and others. Whenever they have put the interests of the people first, historically, it seems to end, unfortunately, in a great disaster for the nation that does that. Well, it just does, doesn't it? I mean, I can't think of any current example.
When you take a look at the German example, of course, yes, there are many things, many details where you could confess that Hitler has done something very good for the German people. But of course, there's all the rest where the at least his government around him, or perhaps also himself, has done some very dramatically bad things for the German people. And when you take a look at his origins, you might be aware of several books, several of these 100,000s about him, telling that he was an illegal son of the one of the Rothschild's offsprings in Vienna, from where his family got some monthly payment to cover all the costs. So
what do you think about that? Do you think that that's likely to be true? I'm interested to know. I don't think it's true, by the way. I've got my reasons.
Neither do I. I don't think it's true.
Do you know why I'll tell you why I don't think it's true, Thomas, because, and it's not just that case. I think what occurs is you get established history, everybody knows it. Then some researcher goes off and discovers something else which runs counter to that. And to certain ears and hearts and minds, like mine, for example, and many people here, you go, that's got the smell of truth about it far more than what the guff I was given at school. In other words, we're getting to hear the account from the other side. Then there comes the next phase. When that idea starts to take root, I think that there's then like other organizations paid for to run counter narratives. And one of the things in history, if you view it from these counter narratives, as it were, that comes out, this is my take on it, is you'll find that we as a people have never done anything. Nothing at all. Everything's been rigged all the time. And there's always some new story coming out to invalidate some new thing. And you end up in sort of like some permanent tunneling expedition to try to get to the base of it, when in fact, I suspect, you hit the bulk of the truth when you were first introduced to the alternative narrative, and you suddenly see it and it makes so much more sense. This is not to sort of, I don't assign right or wrong to any sides in this stuff, but I just can't trust the establishment history that was poured into my head. It's not possible anymore for me to do that. Not that I was that interested in it when I was young. So, I mean, with specific reference to that, I don't go along with that for all sorts of reasons. I just think but it's very convenient that it exists as a story for certain people.
Yeah, well, when you start reading some books and you read more and more books, you certainly end up in a point where you can trust nobody. And when you take a look at this special certain detail about Hitler, that may be true and that may be not true. It may be not true because of what you were just telling, but it may be true because it includes the usual suspects. Mm-hmm. And when we take a look at the younger history and the actual political landscape, what we are looking at, we see that most of the politicians, if not all of the politicians, come into place because of their network, not because of their competence.
Yes.
And because of their network and bloodline and their families. And so that kind of fits into this picture and this story about Vienna and Rothschild and Hitler's background. But maybe true, maybe not true. I don't know. I don't trust either side. But I have to take into account that it may be possible, and that fits somehow into the usual pattern we see in history. But is it important? No, not really, because we have the results of his politics, we have the results of history, of the official history and the unofficial history, and we have to deal with it.
You do. I mean, I think it is important, maybe not because of the content of it, but because of understanding the principle behind it. So what you were saying, I agree, it is about networking, and it is about actors being placed before the crowd, and it is about the crowd, going along with whatever they've been indoctrinated into, because, and it's very difficult. It is difficult. I'm not saying it's easy. Of course, you put yourself out of kilter with the rest of your tribe for a while, when you're going around saying, I don't think so. I don't believe my own leaders. I don't think my leaders are trustworthy. The thing is that there is so much corroborating other evidence that people have tunneled out. This then, of course, is dismissed. Oh, no, that's all made up. Everything that creates a fuller picture is generally sort of later on, once they've realized that this fuller picture has emerged in a small but growing group, they then go all out to sort of whack that too. I mean, since you were on last time, I think it was since you were on last time, I don't know, mentioned, I headed up to London at the back end of last year, September, and met with David Irving. Now, had we talked about this? I don't know if we had.
No.
So it is that long ago. It is. Well, I went to see, he's still alive, he's not in a good way, very tall gentleman. Really tall, 6'3" or something, really big guy. And I went up to see him and to just thank him. And Adam, his grandson, who's in charge of the publishing side of all his work, said to me, oh, you can have some books if you like. So I got a copy of Hitler's War, and I still haven't read that one. I'm sort of saving that for several rainy days. Apart from which, if you immerse yourself in this sort of stuff week after week after week, it's, I don't know, it's a bit like sort of drinking neat vodka all the time. You need to loosen up a bit because it's quite intense. But one of the books I picked up is the book on Goebbels. And I'm assuming it's in German because he's proficient in German. And you might not be familiar with it. It's an astonishing book. It's one of the most riveting things I've ever read. He's not a good man. You probably knew that already. He's not a good man. But some of the situations that they're in and the revealing of the relationships between the people that were doing the decision making it's revelatory. If you've not, for anybody that's coming from normal history to read this stuff, it's amazing. And I don't know if you're aware of this. The reason why he was able to put this together is that he discovered Goebbels' diaries on microfilm or micro photographic plates that were held in Moscow. And he could read them because Goebbels kept his notes in a kind of variant shorthand. And there were 70,000 pages of diaries, which he read. And it produces the most amazing book. Because it's as if you're sat with him from about 1928 through to the end in 1945. It's quite amazing. I mean, at times he's horrible. He's really a very unpleasant man. But he's also quite brilliant. And I wanted to read it to see what he did in terms of actually dealing with the propaganda that they needed to deal with at that particular time. Now, you could say that our situation is different. It is, in many ways. We're not the same sort of people that existed 70, 80, 90 years ago. We're not, for all sorts of reasons. You could say we've been softened up. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. You could say we're even a more peaceable people, but maybe that's a worrying thing because we are a bit of a soft touch over here for things and people are finding it difficult to re-engage. I just wondered whether you were familiar with that book. Probably not, I suppose,
no.
But I just wondered. No. I need to get you a copy in German. I think you'll find it. I found it mind-blowing. But I did. It's absolutely amazing. An amazing book. Particularly things like the discord in between the the top level staff there. They're all. It's not this unified group at all. There's a lot of internecine warfare that's taking place between them, and astonishing actually. Particularly the bombing. You know, when the bomb goes off under the table and all that kind of stuff. How it even happened. It's a remarkable read. It's better than any film I've seen about it. I'd put it down as a must read for anybody that needs to know a bit more about that history. It's not only reveals a lot of things that are rarely ever addressed, but it also gives you a sort of a real life view of the colossal amount of work they were doing. Just to let you know as well, we played that song earlier, didn't we, about Mr. Churchill? And one of the sort of running themes within the book is Mr. Goebbels' competition with Churchill to see who could be the best propagandist. He's fully aware of this, and some of his notes are quite witty about this. He even grudgingly acknowledges that Churchill's done a good one at certain times when he pulls certain wool over certain people's eyes and all this kind of stuff. So it's quite fascinating about how on an intellectual level they were dealing with one another and the sorts of communications that they were making at the time. So I'm just recommending it to you. Not that you've probably got too much. It's a bit of a biggie. I've forgotten how. It's worth it. I think I recommended it a few months ago when I actually read it, and I'm recommending it again. Really, even though this show is not necessarily about that, but it is. It's useful. The other, you could say another theme that's really bearing full fruit. I mean, I don't know if anybody here saw this. There was a video clip the other day of some American guy verbally really haranguing the US government in all the right ways, I would suggest. And you could translate those to any Western nation and say them about those governments too. But his T-shirt was great because on it just said Churchill was a big shit. And,
yes, I'd agree with that.
Did you see that?
Yes,
did you see
excellent.
the T-shirt? I thought
yes,
I
saw
could do
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, Churchill
Yes.
was a shit. And this is really getting across. There was also that interview that Tucker Carlson did with that historian a few months ago. Did you see or hear or aware of that, Thomas? Did you see that interview?
I saw several interviews, but I don't know if I saw that one with Tucker Carlson.
All right, okay. I mean, he got hammered for it. This guy, everybody said he's not a historian at all. Well, everybody's a historian. You start reading history books, you're a historian. You might not be a deeply read one, but you're on your way. And they're very snotty, he didn't go to university. I saw these criticisms of him. It's a fantastic interview. He's talking about more of the underlying reasons for the conflict, which I would suggest is still the same underlying reasons that are manifesting itself in the conflict that we're enduring now. My take really is that our government is waging war on my people. They just happen to be mine. I don't know if you view it over there in Germany the same way. Do you think your government's waging war on German people?
I see it the same way, but it's not only on ourselves, but it's also waging war on all of us. The UK government is waging war on all of Europe, and the German government is waging war on all of Europe, not only on the German people. They are trying to heat the situation up in Ukraine, trying their best to deliver more missiles, more long-range missiles. The UK does it, talks about it, and does it. British soldiers are in the field, German soldiers are in the field, French soldiers are in the field. And even if we do not talk about that, it is a fact. German soldiers have died on site, British officers and soldiers have died on site, French, etc., all of them. And we are de facto in a hot war there on site, but nobody talks about it.
No, what a
some
surprise.
British, some senior ranks that were captured. 3 of them, weren't they? Apparently, a couple of weeks ago.
More of them.
Yes,
much more.
But it's overlooked that Churchill during World War II, going back to World War II, was generally hated, absolutely hated. And I know for a fact that in cinemas in Glasgow and basically in Scotland, whenever they showed you a newsreel of Churchill, people started booing because they hated him so much. He was not liked. And it's only the hype that sort of hyped him up. And I also know for a fact that when he went to the East End and said, "We can take it," he was pelted with eggs and women came out with rolling pins and chased him away. And from thereafter, most of the scenes of him walking around bombed out buildings was set places away from the East End. He couldn't walk into the East End of London. He was really detested there. So that is a different sort of slant on things. If you read the history books, they'll say, oh, Churchill, the official ones, I mean, Churchill was loved by the people. He wasn't. He was detested. My parents detested him. That's my little, that's my 10 pence worth.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry, Eric. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, sorry, I don't mean to jump, but I was going to say, Thomas, I guess they don't teach modern history in German schools, do they? Do they teach much about it when you was at school, about modern history?
What do you call modern history? Times like Third Reich, etc.
Yes. Did they say much about it?
Well, this situation has two sides. They teach a lot of this time, and they talk a lot about this time. But what they talk about and teach about this time is nonsense.
No,
they of course.
I'm
no
shocked.
Way. Of course, the pupils there in the school have to learn about the cruelties and the cruel crimes of the German Third Reich government and the people here and concentration camps, etc. And they have to remember all the numbers and the cities and where it took place, and that Germany started the World War I and Germany started the World War II, and all what they learn about it is the official history, and this is the history of the so-called winners of the World War I and II, and we all know meanwhile that it's historically seen nonsense. We see similar situation right now. Right now, I think when you take some parallels to history, we see that Russia has taken the position of the German, the Deutsches Reich at those days. The Russians didn't want the war, the Germans didn't want the war. The Russians started to invade some other country to protect their own people. The Germans invaded some other country to protect their own people, and there are lots of similarities there when you look at it.
Yeah.
And what the situation in the school is that since 1945 we are in Germany under a constant very professional re-education of all of the people, and the teachers who teach now at school have all undergone the same re-education, and also their teachers already have undergone this re-education. So we have gone through several generations of re-educated anti-German teaching generations and teachers generations, and so the outcome is very clear. There's nothing much left from the official realistic historical picture of Europe, of Germany, and about German tradition, for example.
Yeah.
Do you know who was responsible for that re-education, what they called the denazification of Germany?
The denazification is not the same as the re-education. I have in my first book, I think there's a picture of the official order, the military order of the German re-education. It's about one US letter format page where it is written, all teachers, all pupils have to be in the way of blah, 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 blah. It's a very long military order. And the denazification is something apart from that.
That's interesting because, I mean, I discovered that it was the Frankfurt School who relocated to America. They were welcomed with open arms to America. That the American government actually asked for their advice and used them for their advice on, and their advice was to spread mass guilt throughout Germany. And that's exactly what they did.
Yes, the so-called mass guilt complex was also invented, and invented much earlier, because of the British bombings of Dresden, because the Germans, of course, were shocked about this bombing, and the British government, and especially the Tavistock Institute, they worked on an efficient strategy to somehow get out of this mess. And their strategy was to spread mass guilt complex among the German people. They invented some horror stories about what the Germans did to just cover up their cruel crimes against the Germans.
Yep.
Well, it's like our jolly friend, was it Sefton Delmer, the propaganda man?
Yes.
Who said, I can't repeat it verbatim, you might be better at this, Paul, than I am, where he said about propaganda being like a neatly kept British lawn, and you must stop the weeds of truth coming through.
That's right. You must stop the weeds of truth. That's what we are, everybody. You're the weeds of truth. It's nice. I like being with the weeds of truth. But yeah.
Apropos weeds.
Yeah.
When I was a child, I used to watch these flickering black and white propaganda films, which they still put on the television now, when we had a television. I no longer have a television, I hasten to add. But now, when I was a kid, they used to always have these propaganda films on, sort of, what was it now? The Great Escape and all that old crap. And as I say, even though I don't have a television, I know for sure they're still putting them on. And I used to think, when I was a very young child, if Mr. Hitler was so bad, why aren't the German army surrendering absolutely, why are they carrying fighting on? Why aren't they surrendering to us jolly nice allies? Why do they keep fighting? Now, I thought of that from a child's mind. Surely they'll be surrendering en masse, but they didn't. So, when you look at it from a child's point of view, as I was, that it doesn't make sense, because if things were as bad as what they said, people wouldn't have the will to fight on. What's your view, Thomas?
I have a family remembering regarding this special detail. One member of my family they were all soldiers, of course, but one of these soldiers had the situation one time in Berlin and had the chance to shake hands with Hitler. And he wasn't a great fan of Hitler before, and he wasn't a great fan of Hitler afterwards. But after shaking his hands and after meeting him in person, he was somehow fascinated of him, because he was, well, I didn't meet him, so I can only guess. I guess he was so charismatic, and his appearance and maybe his eyes were so intriguing that he got everybody on his side.
Can we bottle that? Do we need any of that? Do we need some of that back? It's almost impossible to think, certainly over here, of having anybody charismatic come to the fore. And it's interesting that they're not taking that route.
Oh, hang on, Paul. We got Keir Starmer. I mean, he's about as charismatic as a fart, isn't he? Really, I would say. Although that's an insult to a fart, isn't it? Really. Sorry.
Well, aren't they specially selected for their complete absence of personal magnetism and charisma?
Yes.
No, I'm serious. I mean, it's like it's a design tool that they must be the most mediocre dullards. And because they've been selected, it's obviously that they're compliant with an ideology, whether they know it or not, which makes them putty in the hands of the people behind the curtain. I mean, it's just, these are ridiculous people. They're ridiculous. And, of course, the really terrifying thing is you talk to other people and they get used to it. They think, oh, they're quite good, because they've got nothing to compare it to.
He makes John Major look interesting, doesn't he? I thought John Major was dull enough, but I mean, it's this bloke. I mean, I actually do think he's had some treatment done on him mentally. Seriously, I really do.
Yeah.
Who's in
charge of your neck of the woods right now? Who's in charge of Germany right now? Who's the boss? I don't even know.
I don't know who really is the boss, but
You
I
don't
know
know,
who,
and you live there.
who calls.
Oh, nobody knows.
Like I know who calls himself Chancellor. It's Merz. But well, at the moment we see in Europe a situation where all of the so-called professionals in politics and political science and universities, etc., they are talking about democracy is the best thing we can have, and democracy lives from the situation that you have many parties, perhaps not too many because this makes a kind of a mess, perhaps 2 or 3, perhaps 4 or 5, but not more, please. And in the United States, we have 2 parties generally, so right or left or Republican. No. How do you call them? Democrats and what is the other name?
Republicrats and Democratans, or whatever they're called. Yeah,
yeah.
Republicans and Democrats. Hello, by the
Germany,
way. Sorry to interrupt the show. Hey, this is Patrick, just checking in.
Hello,
Paul.
Patrick.
Hi, Patrick.
Eric,
Hi.
Thomas.
Hi, Patrick. Yeah, well, in Germany we have the SPD, so the left, and we have the far left, the Linke. We have the former PDS, the former German Democratic Republic States Party. This is the today called Linke. We have on the middle side the FDP, which is close to 0 points at the moment, and we have the CDU, CSU, who call themselves Christ Democrats.
Yeah.
And on the right side we have the AFD. The AFD has catched up really good, and they are at the moment on the same level as the CDU and perhaps even more. And when we take a look at the situation at the moment, of course, we could say that the AFD could be a very good alternative for Germany, because at least they seem to talk and say what might be useful and right for Germany. That they talk about remigration, they talk about less taxes, etc. When we take a look at the history of the AfD, we can find that the AfD was founded by a general who was close to the CIA and General Petraeus, and so the AfD is an innovation of the American side, and
no doubt run by a lesbian, I've heard.
Yeah.
Which morally is makes it.
Yes, that comes on top. You never get all the good things on one side. You have to have at least one part where you have to struggle with. She lives with her wife in Switzerland, by the way.
Right.
Well, so at the moment, the AfD seems to be a good alternative, but when you take a look at their history, you might doubt that in the long run, they are really a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
For the moment, I would say we should work on the very basics for Germany. And from my point of view, that would be we need a constitution, because we don't have one. And for all those listeners who might think, well, of course you have a constitution. We have the Grundgesetz, but the Grundgesetz, when you take a look at the last paragraph in an article, it's clearly written there. It's not a constitution, it's a Grundgesetz. And the basic law is only for occupied countries. And so next to all this, okay, Germany is still occupied. So perhaps we could work on the very basics, give Germany, or the Deutsches Reich, because Germany is not a German word. Germany calls itself in German Deutschland, or Deutsches Reich, or Bundesrepublik Deutschland, for example, Federal Republic of Germany. But officially, German politicians, in this case it was Wolfgang Schäuble, registered the German country, the German government, under the name of Germany, not Federal Republic of Germany or not Deutschland, but Germany. So in an English word, into the international listings at the United Nations, for example. So everything was away from the good old German words and the German state.
Become anglicized.
Yes.
Sounds like. Which makes sense because in the United Nations, it's really, you're talking about Manhattan and New York City, which is quite a ways away from Europe or any of these other places. The same with NATO, which was, its charter was based on the United Nations charter. So they're a function of the United Nations, essentially. And that's...
I just talked to a friend of mine about NATO and its origin. For us, NATO is like the Western military organization. Well, when you take a look at the history of NATO, you get a completely different picture. I don't know if you are aware of that. We talked about this in an earlier show, I guess. Perhaps, Paul, you remember Admiral Byrd going to Antarctica, coming back and telling about him facing a military power that was so powerful, much more powerful than his weaponry was, that they had machines that could fly from pole to pole within 30 minutes, etc. And he came back after 3 weeks or 6 weeks. Perhaps it was 3 weeks. It was planned for going down there for 6 months, and he came back after some weeks, having lost a great part of his 4,000 men, and ships and airplanes, etc. And after that incident, after that so-called military expedition to Antarctica, all the Western governments started to make some treaties amongst them. So Great Britain with France, France with Great Britain, France with Belgium, Belgium with France, Spain with Italy, Italy with all of them. And out of these bilateral contracts in between nearly all Western governments, they then made the so-called NATO, the North Atlantic Treaty Organization, because they wanted to have more structure in it and not so many different contracts, but only one. It was simply to make it simple. And all of these bilateral contracts were contracts to, you help me when this military power from Antarctica attacks me. Yeah, you will? Okay, thank you. I will help you too. So they feared this military power from Antarctica, and we all know of whom they were talking.
Yes.
And so this is the origin of NATO, and it didn't change. NATO is an anti-German organization, and the Federal Republic of Germany even is member of the NATO. So a German country is member of an anti-German treaty organization.
And that's because the United Nations itself, if you go back to I listened to a lot of the old World War II era radio broadcasts of Churchill talking about the United Nations as an effort of the Allies during the war. And as a consequence, since they, were the victors or the perceived victors, they just determined what would be the new world order after after World War II was said and done. So that makes perfect sense. And by the way, I'm a historian on the Paul English Live pod home. Apparently, the last time Mr. Anderson was on was with Monica Schaefer and Dennis Wise for the 80th anniversary of the bombing of Dresden on February 13th of this year.
Wow.
Just as a reminder.
Okay. I remember the show. Thank you very much, Patrick. That's good for us forgetful types.
Thanks. Yes. Would you think, Thomas, that World War II was really about usury? Because that's my view. It is really boiled down to usury, because Germany was not allowed to get away with abolishing usury in 1933. What's your view on that, Thomas?
I think when we take a look at what was his name? This Freemason who did all these plans for the 3 world wars.
Mazzini?
Oh, no, one in 1860, wasn't it? It was
Albert Pike with Mazzini.
Albert Pike, that's the one.
Albert Pike, exactly.
Thanks, mate.
Yes.
Thanks, Patrick. You always come up with the goods. Thanks. Yeah, sorry.
Albert Pike, yeah. So when he invented these plans, they also invented all the very complex situations behind it. And Germany, unfortunately, was in their way because of many reasons, and therefore they used Germany. It was mainly for the reason that they were very good tools. They were very good in what they were doing. And the second reason was because Germany was on their menu, or the Germans were on their menu. We talked about this one already some several shows ago, why history is always about Germans and Jews. And the old fight between the Germans and the Jews has some origins far way back in the past, but they are still an actual conflict, and which has to be somehow solved somewhere in the future, at some point of time. So when these plans were invented, the plans are still in their realization now. We are living in the middle of having these plans realized. There are many sub-plans, for example, the Morgenthau plan, the Kaufmann plan, the Hutten plan. They are ruining Germany, making the world of migration, the German people disappear because of dissolving and mixing them with every other type of humans on this planet. And ruining the Morgenthau plan, the Kaufmann and Hutten, mixing them with marriages, having migrations in the millions, giving all the money away out of Germany. The Joschka Fischer, he was once foreign minister. He once said, no matter what the German government spends the money for, it doesn't matter. Just give it away for some stupid reasons, no matter to which country. Just give it away, and as long as the Germans don't have the money, the world will be saved. So this is the kind of government we had and have in Germany.
He was being sarcastic when he said that, was he?
No, he was very truthful. Yes. At the moment, for example, there is a very popular example for wasting German tax money. Germany paid 260 million euro to the country of Peru for bicycle pathways. They built some
excellent
bicycle ways, in Peru, and they spent money for the better living of some trans people in Uganda, for some pro-trans people, catch fights in Africa.
Money well spent.
Money well spent. So no matter what ridiculous projects the money is spent for, the money from Germany is spent for every stupid thing you can think of.
Yeah. Any goofy idea, the money's there.
But I mean, they do it over here, but in a slightly different way. Or maybe they're doing it the same way everywhere. I mean, we've got, everywhere you look, is it meant to be like, it's obviously meant to be like this. I mean, it's by design. I think we've got so much capacity to produce wealth. We produce so much of it that they've got to make sure it's squandered so that we can't get strong. That's one way of phrasing it. But there's all these different aspects. I mean, I've mentioned it before, but, you repeat these things. There's a £1,400 million wind park out in the ocean here. Well, the sea, right? It's not the ocean. It's not that far away. It's off the coast. You can, on a clear day, unfortunately, you can see this completely pathetic piece of engineering. And that's 1,400 million quid. It produces enough electricity to recharge an electric moped, I think, once a week or something. It's a joke. It is. It's a literal joke. And it's meant to be a joke. Surely it's meant to be a joke. It's the conversations about realism that don't exist. Everybody they're always talking about this mythical thing called progress, something that we've actually had far too much of. I'm sick of progress. It's tedious. It doesn't deliver anything. I wanted to ask you, is Ursula von der Leyen one of yours, Thomas? What nationality is she? I don't know where she comes from. Is she German or Dutch? I'm a bit pathetic with this.
No. Unfortunately, she's German.
Oh, right, okay. Well, never mind. That's good. It's nice to know that you've got credit. She's almost equivalent to Keir Starmer. She's unbelievable. She's absolutely hilariously stupid. And
No. Sorry, you cannot compare these two.
No.
Keir Starmer is a very poor guy from Great Britain. Ursula von der Leyen has managed to get some personal, as far as I was informed. I must say this. As far as I was informed, Ursula von der Leyen managed to get some personal kickback on the COVID-19 vaccinations, and I guess it was some billions for her personally.
Oh, nice.
This is what I heard.
Yeah. Isn't her husband up to his neck in it or something? He's all wrapped up in the whole thing, isn't he, or something?
You should not compare amateurs with professionals.
No, you're right. Yeah, you win. Yeah. She's definitely much more wealthy than Keir Starmer, who is not only fiscally poor, but spiritually and intellectually bereft of anything. He's just a remarkable sort of shell of a human being. He literally is.
But he's one of the boys. He's not gay, but his boyfriend is. So that's how I heard. You know. But he's not gay. He's all right.
It's just his boyfriend.
He's one of the lads. He's one of the lads. You know, the boyfriend that he sleeps with each night. Mate, he's gay, but he isn't. See, so there we go.
Yeah.
So I hope that's clear things up.
Yeah, he's a trans queer lesbian or something like that.
No.
I mean, this whole thing, it's so bizarre. It's difficult enough dealing really with the English insanity without even taking on board what's happening in Europe. This, I'm assuming, obviously, your country must be a member of the European Court on Human Rights, which this country needs to get out of as fast as possible. This is part of the problem. And they use all these sort of administrative excuses for not being able to get anything done. Apparently, it's impossible to stop migrants coming here. It's impossible. It just can't be done, apparently. There's nothing that we can do. So that's that. No one can actually take proper action to correct the situation. Can't do it. Won't be allowed.
There are countries who are very good in rocket science and who stop migration. There's Poland, there's Hungary, and fortunately and luckily they have found the solution. We should look at those countries and do what they do.
Yeah. Don't they put up a big fence? Isn't that what they do?
Fence, yes. This was the innovation, I guess. Yeah.
A fence?
Maybe.
Yeah.
But we got a natural one. It's called the English Channel. But you know what they probably try and do? Erect a fence in the middle of the channel. That's a government idea, yes. There's any trouble is it's at the bottom of the ocean, so it's not stopping the dinghies, but it's a bloody good fence, I can tell you that. Even though you can't see it. But can you imagine, though, Thomas, if it would be possible for us to get into a time machine and go back in time to, say, the First or Second World War and show everyone how their respective countries are going to turn out in, 80 years' time or 100 years' time? I wonder what their reactions would have been.
Well, if we could reach really all of them, let's think about theoretically. Yeah. If we could reach all of those soldiers, giving them a 1 or 2 hour lesson in the local cinemas, showing them what the world would look like today, I guess it would take another 3 or 4 hours, then we would have a worldwide revolution.
Yes, I agree with you. My father was in the full 6 years of World War II, and before he died, he said, if only we had known how this country is going to turn out, we'd have thrown down our rifles and given up. And he said that whilst being means tested.
Well, part of the problem, though, is like in Ukraine, you have a war going on, and those borderline countries like Poland and Hungary, there's press ganging going on, and it doesn't get any sort of coverage from the media, the mobilization.
Really?
They'll kidnap people and bring them to the front lines, just like they do in mainland, in the over the border in Ukraine.
I didn't know that. What, in Poland they're doing it?
Well, people from Hungary, I know at least. I've heard reports of that happening, where they'll get dragged over and brought to the front line.
So again, let me ask you again. They are going to Poland. They catch Polish people and get them to the front in Ukraine.
I'm not quite sure. I haven't heard any reports about Poland so much, but mostly what I've heard is from Hungary. Usually young men.
They catch Hungarian people in Hungary and bring them to Ukraine to the front.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Didn't know that. Didn't hear about that. I saw many videos about the Ukrainian military catching the Ukrainians in the city from where they came from, buying some bread in the morning or going around with their dog, and then being caught and directly brought to the front line, not coming back, of course. And yesterday I read the number that meanwhile they lost 1.7 million people.
Yeah. Yeah, it's terrible. They don't give it any press though, because the at least over here, everybody's all pro Ukraine. Let's go. That was a big thing after COVID stopped. Then it was all Ukraine this and Ukraine that, and it still is for the most part. It doesn't get any coverage though. That type of press gang mobilization, as they call it.
Well, the British did that in the 18th century. They would have to get people onto ships, because Britain had a huge navy and a small army, and they used to have press gangs going round the pubs and that, wait until people got drunk, and next morning they'd wake up on board a ship, and that would be it. They'd be in the navy, and that was very famous in this country. So it's not new, Just sort of put my 5 pence was in there.
So do you think there's a theme here, which is that the real enemy of all people is their own government, he said, stating the bleeding obvious for the 5 millionth time?
Yes.
Don't you is it not self-evident to the...
Yes.
But it obviously isn't to a huge number of people, is it?
Well, more people have been killed by their own government than all the wars put together.
I talk about a guy here. We're coming towards the end of our stint on WBN in about 5 or 6 minutes. We're going to carry on for an hour after that. So if you want to carry on tuning in, head on over to paulenglishlive.com, and you can pick up the YouTube and the Rumble and the Radio Soapbox links. We run on till 11 o'clock here in the UK. Or whatever that is in US Eastern Time, 6 p.m. US Eastern. But I've mentioned here a few times, I'm going to mention another post here from Legal Man. And I need to send you the link to his film, actually, Thomas, called Barnum World. I've been talking about it for the past few days. I started watching it for the second time. It's absolutely wonderful. It's an hour and 36 minutes. It's very funny. But this is a post he's just put up about 6 or 7 hours ago. They're all of a similar theme, but they're worth saying. I want to say this one. He says, because they're brief and you can read them out. Imagine having had the internet for 25 years and still believing that the US is the good guy in the world, or the official September the 11th story, or the October 7th narrative about hang glider attacks, or that COVID was a worldwide pandemic that threatened us all, or that the COVID jab saved lives, or that your vote matters, or that the Constitution protects your rights, or any of the other ridiculous official narratives running around out there. But people do. Hundreds of millions of them do believe them. So much so that if you try and open their eyes, they attack you. Lol. So with a population still this brainwashed after 25 years of access to information, what makes people continue to think that we can somehow turn things around? Now, of course, it is a bit black pilly and a bit negative. But that's why I go and read it. It's just I go and read this stuff every now and again as a sort of slightly sobering moment to stop me getting carried away with the fact that we can turn things around. Although I'll wake up the following morning and think that we can, simply because I prefer it as a thought over the more realistic one. But is it the case that, I do think it doesn't matter how much truth you show to people. For a huge swathe of people, it's never going to make any difference, is it? Is it? I don't think it would.
You mean having?
Well,
Go ahead, Thomas.
no, go.
I just having a constitution. I don't know if that's gonna make a difference. Even in Germany, I know you were mentioning that earlier. It's like what will it do? And my big thing lately has been looking back into inheritance with primogeniture laws that used to exist in Christian countries.
Yeah.
That's biblical based, where you inherited your father's wealth and the firstborn son got a double portion, and it wasn't all taken by the state and taxes and all these other communist type, Karl Marx type systems that have been set up to drain the wealth of the nation and the land, dispossess people. So that's my 2 cents.
I agree. Yeah.
I would also agree that putting up a constitution would not be the solution for everything, but it's more the thought about doing this. So if more people would be aware of that we do not have a constitution, they perhaps might be also become aware of that we have some serious problems here. At the moment, we talked about this last show, in the last show about the German basic law. If we do not have a valid basic law, all the laws in Germany are not valid anymore, because without the basic law, they miss an area of validation. So at the moment, we are living in a country without any law. If more people would be aware of this, if, for example, bad people, they have to try, because they would say, "Fuck you! You don't have a law to judge about me."
Yeah.
If more good people would be aware of this, perhaps they would think, okay, now let's work on the basics. We have to put a legal system on the way, because we need some law system around us to take care of all the daily trouble we might get into with our neighbor, our employee, etc. And then, of course, the constitution is not the solution for everything, but it's more the thought behind it. If they would recognize that there is a problem, perhaps they would also see the other problems, and so work on them step by step.
You actually need a law, don't you? You actually need to get one first. Is that right? Can we have some law, please? Is that what they're saying in Germany? Could you possibly see your way to giving us some?
Well, we have some law. We have the international law. We have the Uniform Commercial Code. We have the canton law of the Catholic Church, which is available everywhere. But we have French law. We have British law. We have Russian law. We have everywhere. There's a law system, but not in Germany. So we should have one too, just to have one. It's nice.
You should, yeah. Let's get the Germans some law. You need to get some lovely law, some good stuff. Anyway, we've come to the end of our stint here at WBN. I'm going to play a couple of songs. You know Werner Herzog, don't you, Thomas, the German film director? So I've got a few silly little tracks to play here. The first one is a comical 30-second clip from Werner Herzog talking about chickens, which I quite like. And then we have a humorous English song, which is going to take us over the next 3.5 minutes or so. So we'll be back after this. If you want to carry on listening, as I said, head on over to paulenglishlive.com. We'll be back here on WBN 324, same time next week, 3 p.m. US Eastern, 8 p.m. in the UK. Have a cracking week, you UBN people and WBN people. And we'll be carrying on after these little tunes. So if you want to come and join us, head on over to Paul English Live. Here's Werner Herzog. Very quiet Werner Herzog. Let's start him again.
The countryside and you see chicken, try to look a chicken in the eye with great intensity, and the intensity of stupidity that is looking back at you is just amazing. By the way, it's very easy to hypnotize a chicken. They're very prone to hypnosis, and in 1 or 2 films I've actually shown that.
In a little town where I belong, there's a most accomplished fellow. He's the leader of the village choir, and his voice is warm and mellow. He drives a fruit cart around the street, and everybody knows it. He doesn't sing or rave about his fruit, he simply blows it. He's doing it all day long. It's better than any song. Though it isn't very pretty, you've got to admit it's cute. So all together let it go. Eat more fruit. It's certainly come to stay. It's a treat to hear him say, hey, fruits in season plenty there is, apples, plums, and the old raspberries. Everything is fresh today. Every Friday night when work is done, he never wastes a minute. To the village hall he hurries round, where he sings just like a linnet. To hear him blow a melody, it's great, you can't deny it. And if you've nothing else to do, I'd like you all to try it. Get ready and do it now. It's easy when you know how. Though it isn't very pretty, you've got to admit it's cute. So all together let it go. Eat more fruit. It's certainly come to stay. It's a treat to hear him say, hey, doti la sol fa mi re do. Everything is fresh today. It's certainly come to stay. It's a treat to hear him say, hey, fruits in season plenty there is, apples, plums, and the old raspberries. Everything is fresh today.
And if that's not the sound of England, I don't know what is. So there we go. Welcome back, Thomas. Welcome back, everyone, to our final hour. And there you go. Werner Herzog. I think I cut a bit of the clip off there, but it's about chickens. I've played it before, 30 seconds. You can find it on YouTube. It's quite amazing. There's also a wonderful clip where he's talking about suicidal penguins, which is definitely worth looking up for those of you that are interested in suicidal penguins. Werner Herzog is your guy. Anyway, welcome back. Well, we were probably talking about something quite serious then, so that's why I thought a few raspberries wouldn't go amiss, because that's what we do around here at times. Yes. That's really what we do, you see. Yeah, absolutely.
There's a wind of change, isn't there? Let's face it.
There is a wind, yes. And I am eating more fruit, and it's important. I do. It would be a good song, really, for any of these political rallies that they have over here. It's actually a bit too good for Keir Starmer. It's actually such a charming song that I don't really want to waste all this really great old material on these little rank creatures that are running around wrecking everything. But still, we got to start somewhere, don't we? We do, absolutely.
But so the idea, what I mentioned about filling whoopee cushions with gravy and shoving them on the seats of the House of Commons for a laugh. Couldn't we do that in the German Parliament as well? That'd be a laugh, wouldn't it?
It would.
What do you think? What do you think, Thomas? Good idea, Ren? I think you like it. I think it's a goer.
There's a good German sense of humour in there. We don't buy into all this humorless German nonsense. You're probably a very vulgar people, this is what we suspect. We suspect that secretly you're actually not all together at all, and there's a lot of fart gags floating around in Germany. This is what we would expect, really.
Yes.
And so we're planning
It's the
to
home of
laugh our
fart
way
gags.
out of this prison. We're going to be laughing our way to it all, and blowing raspberries and flying flags and just generally being quite English about the whole thing.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? Actually, I caught a film the other day which was very English and very funny and rather recent. It was a Simon Pegg film called The World's End. Anybody here familiar with it or seen it? Heard of it?
No.
No? You heard of it, Thomas? The World's End?
No.
Well, as an allegory for our, I watched it years ago. It's bloody funny. It's very English, right? So I don't know whether it'll actually travel very well, but what it's about a few things, and it ends up becoming an allegory, really, for our situation. Simon Pegg plays this. He wants to get all his mates to go back on a pub crawl, right? So you know what a pub crawl is, Thomas? Do you have pub crawls in Germany? You must do. You must have a pub crawl, right? Do you know what a pub crawl is?
No.
Okay, so it's very important that everybody understands exactly the technical specifications of a pub crawl. Basically, groups of usually men, although there might be a few women as well that start off early in the evening, will meet at a pub, say, at 6 p.m, with closing time, say, at 11 o'clock, if it's an evening pub crawl. And there'll be a whole series of pubs marked out for you to go and drink a pint in. There'll be quite a few of them. Generally,
Yeah, they
by
have
the
them
time...
here, Paul.
What's that?
Paul, they have them here where people dress as zombies and they have a zombie pub crawl.
Do they? Oh, we
Yeah.
don't. Well, we don't need to dress as zombies because after about 8 pints of English beer, you actually act like a zombie. Really, people they'll be staggering around. So that's basically what you do. You go to every pub and you drink a pint, or you're supposed to. Of course, a few lightweights like me would always try and skive off drinking one in every single thing. But after about half a dozen pubs, by the time you got to about 8:30 or 9 o'clock, you're not fit for anything, and people don't really know where they're going. They'll just move to another pub. So the whole of the thing falls apart. It's called a pub crawl, and you end up crawling home, generally. This is just the English way, or it used to be, okay? So what's this film about? The World's End is a pub in this village that they all grew up in, and they're now all middle-aged, and some of them become accountants and real estate agents and car salesmen, and they've all got settled lives, apart from one character played by Simon Pegg. I've forgotten his name. Jack, is it, or something? Anyway, he wants to take them all back to this village on a Friday and do a pub crawl. So they go back to do this pub crawl, but the pub crawl turns into something, it's immensely weird because they find that this village, and this is, you could say not even by a stretch, this is kind of an allegory for what's taking place with us here in civilization right now, or the remnants of it. When he gets back to the village, they go to these pubs and nothing's changed and nobody recognizes them. And they should be recognizing them. He goes, who are you? He goes, I'm so-and-so. You remember me? He goes, what do you want to drink? And all this kind of stuff. And there's a lot of beer drinking in the film. A lot, right? They discover, whilst he goes to the urinal, and he ends up in a fight with this young guy, and he literally smashes his head clean off because he's a robot. And it turns out that the whole town has been taken over by robots from an alien force that are trying to make us all peaceful and happy. It's there's not much more I can say about it other than to watch it because it's all in the detail, but it's a bloody funny film. And in the end, they've taken over nearly all the humans. Just these drunkards are left. This is very English. They're drunk, surrounded by them in this big sort of pit, talking to them. And the sort of head guy is trying to persuade them about why they need to join the peaceful universe. But these drunk English guys don't want anything to do with it. They're not interested. And it's quite a funny sort of exchange. And I think it sort of shows the belligerent attitude that we're going to have to take, that we don't want your help, basically. So I don't know whether I've bigged the film up, but it's bloody funny. This is what I would say. It's very, very funny. They're also responsible for Shaun of the Dead, which if you haven't seen is a great zombie movie.
Oh, it's a classic.
That's absolutely
Absolute
brilliant.
Classic. Especially at the beginning where he doesn't notice there's all these bodies around. He's so preoccupied with his daily duty. He just goes into the shop, gets something, just blood up the wall, and he doesn't notice a thing.
No.
Sorry, I had to cut him with that.
No,
one.
it's cool.
Brilliant.
Shaun of the Dead's great. And they also did Hot Fuzz, which I think is one of the funniest films ever made. Ever. It's just absolutely astonishingly mad and funny and silly. But yeah, The World's End is kind of, they're saying, as they're going through it, they're saying, well, everybody kind of quite liked being peaceful. And it's what they're doing. It's literally, people have gone dormant. They so like being taken over and being replaced by robots that they just allow it to happen. Is that not what's taking place now? Are not people becoming slightly robotized? And the AI thing is, it's almost freaky and spooky. It's weird. It's not like any other sort of changeover. I heard something today. They were talking about, people think, it's not going to change too much. Are you kidding me? The more you think about it, you realize, the middle classes are going to get devastated. Those office manager jobs, right? They're going to be gone inside 5 or 10 years, aren't they? Who's going to do anything? And they were talking about a farming app or a farming robot or an AI robot that they've got that picks wheat or, harvests wheat. And they were measuring it against a human being doing it. And the machine, in the same period of time, gathered up 20 times the amount of wheat. This is someone with a combiner. The machine was just quicker at everything. So
plus
there's a huge chunk of work that we have for millennia, part of, in our bones, been used to doing, that people, I don't know quite where we go. I've said that I'm a neo-Luddite, but I don't know quite what's going to happen with all this. I don't know what your thoughts are, because it's weird. I find this one super weird.
Yeah.
Because we've
Taxi
been
drivers.
we've been moved towards becoming more and more efficient. You go, look how efficient it all is. And going, yeah, but there's no life left. What am I supposed to? Is it literally a case of what am I supposed to do? I'm obviously seeing this wrong, because I guess if you recreate it in your head, you say, well, there's loads that you actually could do, but are people equipped to do it? Is it going to be a case that the population will literally watch not 250 games of football on Sky Sports this year, but in about 5 years, 10,000? They'll be watching football 365 days a year, 24/7. What's going to go on? Any guesses, anybody? I'm all ears on this one, because it's the other fact was apparently at the moment like 50% of all websites are basically auto builds by AI, and they reckon by the end of this decade it'll be nigh on 95% of all websites. So that's web designers out of a job. I've seen some of these apps online. You can just basically type a few instructions. I think I mentioned it here before. I went into one about 3 weeks ago. Very simple. I said, what do you want? It's a website, an app builder. You can just play on it for a few hours. I went, build me a radio station, pick up this feed, do that, this, that, and the other. I went, okay. About 5 minutes later, go, ready, bang, it just came up, all working. It's just nuts. It's like that, it's like Jarvis in the Iron Man movies that'll just do anything for him. If we've all got one of those, what's going to go on? What's going to happen? Are we going to go mad? I could see us going mad, losing our minds. Well, what do you think?
They're talking about a gizmo that you just put in your car and it'll drive you wherever you want to go. You just sit as a passenger.
At 20 miles an hour, though.
At 20 miles an hour, yeah.
And not outside your 15-minute trap zone.
Oh, that's the point, yes. You keep just go round and roundabout. That's probably what'll happen.
Yeah.
But no, it's everything is a double-edged sword, isn't it, really, when you think about it. Things to make our life easier, whilst at the time making it more complicated. That's the problem.
I mean, what if they were to send Elon Musk these robots? I've forgotten what they're called. Have you seen these robots, Thomas, that Elon Musk is making?
Yes, I've seen them. Not only those from Elon Musk, but also this very big order coming from Amazon. I think they talked about 750 robots, which were ordered by Amazon to. I think they want to fire 200,000 or 250,000 employees instead of them than ordering these 750,000 robots.
Right.
Well, if I guess I've tried this AI for myself, and I'm surprised to what it can do. Meanwhile, I tested it some years ago and it was nothing. But meanwhile, it seems to be a very nice tool for certain tasks. Let's try to see a very good chance, a very good possibility. If AI and robots will exchange humans in a very wide area of examples, those humans have more free time, of course. Of course, they can then enjoy some computer games or some football games on TV, but perhaps at least some of them will spend their time creating something, creating culture, perhaps doing some arts, sculptures, paintings.
Will they do it without AI though? Will they do? I mean, I'd love the idea, but what happens if everybody is as good as Michelangelo? There's something weird. I've been thinking about all these things. I mean, why is it that
if you use AI for creating a picture like Michelangelo, of course, it will be in the quality of Michelangelo, but this will not be a painting. If you try to use AI for a painting, you should at least have a robot who could paint with the help of AI. But I guess real quality in a real painting will also in future come from a real human.
How will we know? I'm paying that advocate character. How will we know? Will we know?
No, I think at some point we will reach a state where you cannot decide whether the painting was painted by a human or a robot. I think
I don't know if I want to be in this world. It's super weird. I can't get what's left of my brain, can't get my brain around it. It's like taking away, if you think about when you wake up on a morning, most mornings, if it's a good waking up process, you will leap out of bed with a big grin on your face. Possibly not. I accept that in these circumstances. But you must have had mornings where you do, because there's a task ahead of you that you are going to do. A little goal, some aim. You have to, I don't know, whatever it is, build a shed or take a shed down or something like that. These little tasks come up. If it is the case that robots are doing everything, I mean, I saw the ones Musk is planning on selling these robots. They've really got the cost down. He's saying they're under $11,000. That's about £8,000, I think, by current things, £8,500. He was talking about, he said, certain houses will buy more than one or two. He said they'll have, it's like having butlers everywhere, robot butlers. I don't know.
Well, I mean, I just listened to a video where some people are talking about some experience with so-called extraterrestrials, and this special person talked about a society from another planet where they have a far more advanced technology than here on Earth right now, and they would have technology where they would think about something and then say, "Oh yeah, this I would like to have," like talking to Alexa. Alexa, I would like to have a chair now, and this technology is able to produce everything out of nothing. So if you stand in an empty room and say, okay, I would like to have a conference now here with 8 people. We need a chair for everybody. We need a big table, nice looking, made of wood. We need some drinks, cold, hot. We need some cookies, etc. Please do it now. And it will be there, just in a blink of an eye. It's ready there. If we would think about the technology like this, of course, this technology has to do something with AI and with 3D printing or 3D materializing, whatever you will call it. This would be something else than we have right now here. And this would be even more advanced than the so-called problems we are talking right now. I guess a situation like that would produce a very fast-paced environment for all of us, because no matter what you think of, it will be there in the next second. And
That's
it will
worrying.
disappear if you want.
Isn't that worrying? I'm worried,
No,
but
why?
I think I'm about to hit my sell-by date. Because there's something, I'm really into slowness. The faster everything's got, the more slowness is becoming appealing, with moments of beingness instead of doing stuff. It's really, I'm personally finding it a very weird idea to think about. I just think that some of the sort of frustration of life might go out of it, and I think that's a bad thing. I think,
but even if it in a technologically advanced society like that, where we'd have everything in the blink of an eye, you could celebrate your slowliness just in going into your backyard and then creating something out of an odd piece of wood, for example, just slowly, step by step, taking a knife, doing it yourself. Why not? It's just a kind of meditation, for example. And if you're not happy with it, then let the technology let it disappear and start a new one.
it's a super weird. It's one of the weirdest thoughts that's ever sort of I've had run through my head. I find
But
it.
we could.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we could have. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut in.
No. Please,
We
no,
could
it's
have
fine.
skills come back because people have the time to do these skills. I mean, for example, near where I live, not that far, there's a restored water mill, and I went there a long time ago, and when you're in there and it's working, they're actually grinding flour there, and you can actually buy bags of flour. Now, this technology is from the 18th century? It's the beginning. Basically, it's the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and it's so relaxing. You get this thing going boom, 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 boom. It's just a relaxing pace, and the noise of what's going on in there is not irritating. I mean, you go into any factory and there's awful noises putting your nerves on end, but this isn't. It's all wooden. Everything's because everything is timber in there. So it's more like a sort of more like a human body working. It's really strange. You feel very relaxed when you walk out of the place, and it's a living, working mill. You know, it's marvelous. It really is. So you realise that years ago people weren't stressed out like they are today. Yeah, it's very strange.
The idea of not being stressed out really stresses me out. I'm trying to think about it in a constructive way, and I've not found a way to do it yet. This is me. This is my personal. I'm not finding a constructive way to think about it. I suppose if you think about many of the tasks that could be done on the Earth, like reforesting the deserts, which could be done, I suppose battalions of robots out there doing it could work, because from what I understand, if you get an area of land with plants in it I think it's about 15 or 20 miles in diameter, that becomes a self-sustaining ecosystem. So the idea, why couldn't the deserts be completely reforested? It might enable a control of the environment, which, I'm sure it's going to some degree. That's just off the scale. This is why the migrant thing, the movement of it, just sort of switching tack a bit, is obviously not for anybody's benefit. If the concern is, and it's a good concern, that you don't like the idea of other people suffering economic deprivation, whatever that might mean, or certainly food and hunger. People are still starving from hunger in the world, and there's no real reason for it. Then shouldn't our resources be going to actually enhance the natural fertile land that these people have at home? Shouldn't we be involved in some kind of large-scale project, instead of that large-scale project being colonialism, which is what it was in the 17 and 1800s? Shouldn't it be in the sort of restoration of these nations? There'll be certain people that want to go and help. I think that kind of excites me. I think that's a stimulating idea. I'm sure there's a much more elegant and eloquent way of putting it, but that would be the way to help people, wouldn't it? And is also the plan here, I'm just asking it as an open-ended question, this is what it appears to me to be like, this whole globalization process has to be about the destruction of individual distinct cultures, because that is what it's about. We've got all high streets across Europe and North America beginning to resemble one another. We've got these identikit buildings that are boxes with steel and glass going up everywhere. They're miserable, it's wretched, it's awful. The thing that's always sold to us is economic efficiency, but economic efficiency for whom? It's as if the very people that have put us into the shit are now saying, we're the people to get you out of it. And I'm going, I don't think so. Why would I...
They're interested in regime change, like they did with Muammar Gaddafi.
Yep.
He was standing in their way, especially in Syria, from going after Assad. They needed him out of there, and then you opened up the floodgates of all the boat people coming over to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
After you got rid of Gaddafi, he was preventing that. He was trying to actually make Africa better and make it bloom, like you said, with the desert, make it bloom, grow food and fruit and all the things that people want and need, and take care of people there in Africa instead of having them be desperate and sinking in boats trying to reach the shores of Europe.
Yep.
As a consequence.
I know.
But they don't want that. They want regime change.
He said as much, didn't he? There's statements from him basically saying, if you get rid of me or this goes, he said, you're going to create a massive problem for yourselves. But of course, we didn't create that problem for ourselves. Something else did. That was this is obviously part of the plan. Now, it can't be controlled or stopped. But of course, getting rid of Gaddafi was to open the floodgates in great part to make that happen. He's not the only one, of course. This is all by design, obviously. I'm just saying, can you trust the arsonist to run the fire brigade?
It's a revolutionary spirit, like here in America. We got to have a revolution. Well, no, we don't. I wish it had never happened the way it did. Because what they did is they got rid of Christian primogeniture, and the property going to the sons, and the sons pass it on to their sons, and you have people connected to the land rather than everybody in a disparate democracy trying to, make profit wherever they can out of this whole usury system we're under.
Yep.
Whereas if you own your land and you know that you can food on it, and you're not going to have it taken away so that you can go and pay for some false indoctrination center for children called public government schools, you'd have a society that could provide for itself and be fruitful and not have to worry about people coming in, invading from other countries, and all of these far-flung adventures, with NATO and all these other countries. NATO was another one responsible for Gaddafi being taken out.
Yep.
I just recently listened to an old speech by Christopher Stevens, who got killed during an operation, and he gave away the beans of what they're trying to do. They're doing regime change.
Everywhere.
Same thing happens everywhere. The same thing in Ukraine. They want to get rid of Putin. Same thing in Gaza. They want to get rid of the people in Gaza. And the flags thing, that's interesting. You were talking about that in previous shows with that lady in your neck of the woods.
Yeah, Hannah.
And now it's a big thing where they're raising the St. George's cross and that sort of thing. And yet at the same time, they can always whip out with a flag. The problem is with flags and protests, you always got these people who run to the top or to the beginning of the parade with their banner, and then they make it seem like everybody else is marching under that banner.
There's just no stopping it, is there?
No.
I don't know. Stupidity just is obviously one of our closest allies. We can't seem to shake it off. But yeah, all of this thing, I mean, who would possibly argue against economic efficiency? I mean, it's just that if you look at it, how much of that economic efficiency transfers into a better quality of life for the people? I mean, that aside, apparently we're living longer, but the psychological sort of disturbance that we have to live under is the bit that's unsound. I mean, maybe it's going to turn out fantastic. It's just that at the moment, I'm not equipped enough to see it. Personally, I'm not. I can't see it. I understand why the Luddites started smashing all the looms up, because they were concerned about losing their jobs. This makes sense. Why? Because they need to get paid. So, I mean, in a way, it's a muddled way of thinking about things, because people are working basically for the bank and the economy, and the bank and the economy does not work for the people. And maybe everybody.
Labor's the source.
Yeah.
Labor's the source of all value.
What happens though when we've got AI robots basically making a labor workforce, or a huge chunk of it, irrelevant to the operation of the provision of food and the transportation of stuff? That's what I'm getting at. It's sort of like, oh, he's only a truck driver. Yeah, but he quite likes being a truck driver. I'm not arguing that everybody should be a truck driver, nor am I against it. I don't know. It could be, some people go, I'm very happy doing this. There's human happiness involved. How do you create meaning in your life? I can't imagine that everybody's going to turn out to be an artistic talent. In a way, it's kind of worrying if everybody thinks they can. This is one of the issues I have with the so-called pop music industry and all these other things. People have got all these electronic gadgets. They press a few buttons, they use auto-tune, and they crank out crap. I mean, is it not the case? I don't know. I don't know what you guys think. That when you know that a bloke or a woman sweated really hard over something, like some embroidery work or a painting or the design of a staircase, and you know that human sweat and men with hammers did it and nails had to be driven in, somehow, to me, this is obviously because I'm from the old world, it just seems to have more value. There's a poem about that somewhere. It's almost as if modern stuff that speeds it up reduces the love that we have for the thing. Or am I wrong? Maybe I'm wrong. I mean, when I look at modern buildings, I can't love them at all. They're just unlovable. They're all about function, aren't they? What's that thing? That's what they got into. Form reflects function. We're not into function. It's just boring. We want... why did they make beautiful buildings? Why did they have columns and cupolas and domes and arches and all the engravings? Why? Why did we do all that? Because there's a yearning to actually sort of add beauty into the world. It's good. We feel good about it. Yeah, sorry.
Paul, think of another situation. You talked about architecture and modern cities being ugly. If we would have lots of people having nothing to do, and if those people might have the idea of, hey, let's do something pretty, they would not be able to do the job, for example, on London, make London pretty again, exchange all the ugly buildings with pretty ones, make some nice marble sculptures there, huge with 2 or 3 meters height, like in the Vatican or on the Petersdom, for example. There are not enough artists on this world to do a job like this within a few years, for example. But with the help of AI and with the help of robots, it would be possible to do this job within some months.
But would it convince the people that it was of any value if they knew a machine was doing it?
If the result would be the same quality as, for example, the older ones of Michelangelo, it would be the material, it would be robots handmade, it would be of the same height, would be of the same details, etc. Why not? It's pretty.
Because I think there's something missing. I can't even describe what it is. I think there's something missing. It seems like a plastic world. It just doesn't. I'm not. If I really felt that, I'd be getting excited about it, and I'm not. I'm in a state of mild dread about it. It's as if all that quality, like I was saying, of literally human touch that's connected with old buildings. This is why the old stuff is good, because momentarily you are like envisaging what the builders actually had to go through. There's great tales about it when you see these photographs of them with their wooden scaffolding, or the fact that they made those enormous bells across Europe. But if there's a machine shop just cranking this stuff out, would we value it? We go, it was, value is to some degree driven by its rarity. You go, well, the reason why that Michelangelo statue is so amazing is there was only one Michelangelo. It's astonishing. And I like to be astonished. Am I going to be astonished by what I know a machine can produce flawlessly? I don't think I am. It's as if some emotion that's connected to life is no longer going to be present to the degree that it could be through human effort. Maybe I'm talking out my backside. I mean, I can't stop it anyway. Personally, I don't know how we're going to stop it. I don't even know whether it's sensible to stop. I'm just saying I'm personally confused by it. I think there's something missing in it. It feels empty. And I'm not impressed. And we've got a photograph for today's show, which is Charles Dickens with his pen. It doesn't mean anything, by the way. I had to get all the... we haven't talked about Charles Dickens once, have we? But it's a nice picture. And I've mentioned Dickens before. So there's a guy who literally probably bought ink by the gallon, probably had a big vat or a pump of it in his house, and had a personal deal with the paper merchant to ship in, 10,000 sheets of paper every 6 months because that's how much he was going through. Now, I'm sure maybe if he said, well, if I had a dictation machine, I could have just spat it out. But could he? I don't really know. Times change. Things change all the time. I accept all that. There's nothing we can really do about that. But this one feels, to me, different. It's like a complete replacement of huge areas of work that currently vast numbers of people do. And is that going to be a good thing? And how fast will it take place? I don't know. I really don't know.
I give you an example. Think of the Petersdom in Rome. Think of you going now into this huge church and looking at all those beautiful sculptures. Okay, you go out again, and then the Petersdom will be renovated, and all the sculptures will be exchanged with some AI robot-produced ones, which are exactly the same. Same material, same size, same height, same works, only made by robots. You will not see the difference. And if you will not know it, you will still have the same feeling within this church.
Maybe. I don't know. Because I think I would know it. I think we'd all know it. You'd see the change. But maybe this generation would know it, but maybe subsequent generations wouldn't, because they'd be just born into it, I suppose. Maybe it's a bit like being born into the TV age and your parents really couldn't get used to it or were not that interested. It took a long time to catch on. But if you were born in the late 50s or the early 60s, you were the TV generation. That's what you got. And you didn't question it. You just absorbed it.
What you're talking about is something like you're talking about vinyl discs in the earlier times, then the compact disc, the CD, and now we have the MP. And it's still the same music. Of course, some experienced listeners, some experienced musicians will hear the difference if it's an MP3 file or a CD or even older.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the case. Yeah. But on the other side, maybe the AI and the robot technology will make some more advancements, which will then come to the output that the result will not. You will not be able to see any difference, because it's really done in the same way. There will be a robot which works like Michelangelo with a hammer, with all the same tools.
Oh no, I'm not happy about it. Anybody else get a good feeling about this? I'm interested in what everybody else thinks. Maybe I'm a weirdo or something. It's a bit like, back to teeth again, but maybe I'm just too long in the tooth to be able to take it on board. I suppose I've got a slightly romantic view of life. I just like the idea of people struggling hard to produce something amazing. That's in great part, that's why it's an amazing thing. That somebody would bring something. If everything's about computer calculation, they go, oh, we know how to create new art movements or whatever. Not that I'm necessarily looking for them. Does it mean anything? Is it just a big sort of? Is it just slightly different from watching it all on video, knowing that it was electronically made and all this, that, and the other? It's human beings that we're really interested in, not robots. And it just seems, I don't know if they're,
It could be that we come to a marketplace where the sculptures will have two different prices. Whether this is a sculpture made by AI and robots, and the other sculpture is made by a real human. Maybe the other one, the real human one, will cost 1 million, and the AI thing maybe cost 10,000 or something. Maybe, but if they still look the same, why not having both of them? Because for me, I would rather love to have all the cities being beautiful again, rather than accepting that it will take 2 centuries to rebuild all this. If we could make all this within a few years with AI and robots, why not?
The problem is man's fallen nature and just the idea of like people getting envious of other people's work, and it's always the computer programmer that sets the tone for the AI. And you're talking about Rick Beato and the copyright thing. You get people like that involved where you have copyright violations, so it dictates what the AI model can actually do. That's the problem. If you could trust, and that's a big if, these AI models, then maybe that you do have a point, Thomas. I see potential for it. But if we could trust it, yes. The problem is, do you trust an AI model enough to put your life in its hands and fly an airplane? That's the question. And policing that process so that you know it. I don't know. Like a book. Like, can it write a book as good as Charles Dickens?
It's a little bit like my problems with translations or these Alexa systems. When I take a look at these Alexa and what was the Google name? Google, I don't know. So we have these AI voice recognition systems for the homes. And I don't like them because every word which is spoken there will be computerized and sent to another server, will be stored, will be transformed, etc., etc. So I don't like these systems. But when I think of an Alexa-like system which only works localized, for example, only on my phone, where there's no data sent to any server outside. It's only working on my phone, personalized within a firewall. Nobody else has access to what I'm saying, what I'm working on my computer, etc. Then this kind of system would be very interesting. Hey Alexa, switch on the lights, switch off the lights, switch on the music, etc. Those are really nice and useful features, but only without the surveillance.
Yeah. It's funny. Have you seen that film, The Incredibles? The cartoon thing, the CGI thing. Anybody seen that?
No.
The Incredibles?
Parts of it.
It's marvellous. It's absolutely marvellous film. I recommend it very highly. I mean, it's quite old now, but it's just great. It's a really good film. It's a good family film. Seriously, it's very entertaining, funny, moves along at a real lick. It's brilliantly directed, even though it's a CGI thing. Taps into all the James Bond movie music. It's very lots of scenes will remind you of certain sort of James Bond things and all sorts of stuff. But the baddie in it is a guy called Syndrome, who when he was young was slighted by the main character, Mr. Incredible, and is in a war against, they're called supers, these superheroes. They're all called supers, right? And he's just a normal guy. He's like, he's not really a normal guy, I suppose. He's a great technologist, although it never goes into all this. He just makes all these weapons and things, right? And there's a bit where he's talking to Mr. Incredible about stuff because he's got a bee in his bonnet. And he said, I beat you and I don't have any superpowers because he just created all these gadgets. He said, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to build all these machines and I'm going to give them to everybody. And then everybody will be a super. And when everybody is a super, nobody will be. That's part of the thread I'm coming at. If you can't differentiate between people that have got, you see, I love the idea that there's only one Beethoven. People go, I'm all going to be Beethoven. No, you're not. You're not. It's unrealistic to even think about it. But if machines can sort of mimic this stuff, echo it. I mean, I'd heard that they're trying to use AI to finish off, and no doubt it'll be effective, finish off unfinished symphonies by Tchaikovsky and people like that. It's going to probably be able to do it. You know, I don't know what it means. It's just weird. So if everybody's got this stuff, and everybody's got the same sort of, and of course we won't, they will always have more grunt power somewhere. Okay, so be it. You know, if they're benign, I'm not holding my breath on that one. But doesn't it sort of take something out of life? That's what is it poetry that I'm addressing? It's something like that. There's something about struggle. Even the thing about saving money. You see, we don't do that now because everything's so fast. But not that I'm loaded or anything, you know, but in the past, when you're sort of young and you're moving into earning money and you want something, it certainly used to be like this in the 70s. I must sound like a chronic old fart, I suppose, to some people now. But you would save it up. And when you've waited 6 months of saving, you finally got that thing. It was pretty cool to get it. Now it's not going to be like that. Everybody goes, oh, no, I made one of those yesterday morning and then I destroyed it. I just make them and destroy them all the time. Are people going to go mad having their first level of desires, which are usually material, just instantaneously satisfied? Is that going to be a good thing? It's these things. It's the sort of impact back on us. Yeah, Eric.
But what about Randy robots that like humans? I mean, you won't be able to walk down the road unless you've got one touching you up or sort of chatting you up.
Are they going to make those? You know? Get off me, you bloody robot. Is that what?
Hello, darling. How are you? You know, and that. Do you ever see the Daleks in Pakistani Dalek robots on Spike Milligan? Remember Spike Milligan had a Pakistani good morning, darling, you know. But yeah, you think about it, you're going to have Randy robots chasing you. You know, chase me.
I mean, Billy Silver writes here, the difference between a beautiful painting and a perfectly executed painting by AI is that one came about by a powerful impression with the desire to convey it, and one did not. That's what we're touching on. You could call it soul or poetry or the aspiration of the spirit to achieve something higher. And I don't think that the sort of the pragmatic solutions to perceived problems in terms of the physical universe is not going to satisfy that desire. It leaves me cold thinking about it. I'm not arguing for pointless misery and struggle and physical hardship. There's been plenty of that. But in a way, even that is a positive. You get crap in your life no matter what age you're in. We've got a different type. We don't have so much physical hardship, although I've got trouble with one of my teeth right now. We'll go back to that. We do get those things, and you know, I've griped about it this evening enough. So there's stuff like that, and we still feel pain physically. Robots won't be feeling pain, I'm assuming, or they'll be pretending to. The people relate to these. I mean, I've seen these geeks talking about these things as if they're going to sort of have a relationship with them. They're deranged, in my view. It's just odd. I find the whole thing odd. I mean, if we get sort of going back to basics, you could say, what is the purpose of life? Well, there are many involved in it, and they sort of reveal themselves to you and change with time as you move through the years. I'm sure of it. Your priorities shift. You may be calmed down. Sometimes you don't want to calm down. You get even worse, maybe, if you're a cantankerous old git. Which is no bad thing. But love, particularly the love of a woman if you're a man and vice versa if you're a woman, is a big deal. I'm not saying that AI is going to stop that happening, but somehow a lot of the sort of details that are involved in all these processes may just evaporate. You know, like, well, I haven't got her an engagement ring because I haven't got enough money yet. But if you've got a machine that just makes all this stuff, does it become, it's such an effortless, appears to be, a thing without effort, and you can't show your commitment to other people. I haven't really even thought this through. I'm just saying the repercussions of it, I think, are going to be colossal. Every time I start thinking about what's going to happen to people who think they're secure in their jobs, you look at what AI is going to do, and on one level you go, well, this is great. It frees people up.
Let me add something.
But does it?
Let me add something, Paul.
Yeah, please.
You are talking about every materialistic thing you can think of, no matter if it's a wedding ring or a painting or a sculpture or no new TV, new car, whatever. Everything materialistic could be there with this kind of technology within seconds. So it becomes worthless. Yes, I agree. It becomes a kind of worthless because maybe the technology is so good that you do not even have to pay something for it. You don't use resources, etc. Maybe it becomes worthless. But then the society and the people within this kind of society will automatically use a search for something of value. And maybe they will then come to a very different point of view. They will then perhaps find something else which they value, perhaps knowledge.
No
or
doubt.
wisdom.
Yeah, I think
or love.
You could well be right. I think what I'm saying is that I feel as though I'm about to hit my sell-by date. I'm serious. Like, so I followed technology and got onto computers in 1984. I had a Mac in 1984 when I was in my early 20s. Never really been away from it. Loved all the developments of it, particularly when all the information space started happening with the web and all these documents that, as I've said before, we never even knew existed. Topics, fields of thought that were basically never ever came up, so you never thought about them. They suddenly started to come up, and there's this colossal rich field that's been effectively hidden, veiled from us by all the alternative writers through history. People have got hold of these things. I know we're in a relatively small pocket, but for someone like me, and I suspect for people like you, it's been an absolute joy. It's been hard as well, and you realise that you're out of kilter with such a huge number of other people who appear to not be questioning anything much. That's the main problem. But this one is like too much for my tiny little northern brain, really, at this moment to take on board. I'm just being quite honest about it. As I look at the repercussions, I'm thinking, yeah, but all the things I like, this sort of stops it. If it removes all of the sort of, I don't know, sometimes certain bits of struggle are actually satisfying when you overcome them. This provision of instantaneous material organization, or for want of a better phrase, the instant acquisition of, no, that table's too big. Make another one for me in 5 minutes, will you? I don't know whether I'm going to get much of a buzz out of that. Maybe I'll just think it's brilliant. I don't know.
Mind you, look on the other.
Yeah, go on. Yeah.
Sorry, but look at the other thing. There's a picture of Charles Dickens with a quill.
Yeah.
We can now create a book umpteen times quicker than Charles Dickens could. We got pens that can write far more efficiently than a quill. So that is a bit of advancement, which has helped us, because in Dickens' days, only a very, 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 very small minority could write books. They had the education to. Nowadays, anyone can write a book. And look at what's happened. I mean, when I published my dad's book in 1999, Amazon didn't exist. The problems I had at getting that book, I had to publish it myself because publishers wouldn't touch it.
Yeah.
But nowadays, I've updated it. It's now on Amazon, and it's a doddle. Done.
I mean,
Easy.
I suppose what I would say to that, Eric, just going back to the quill and the pen thing, and I'm just making this stuff up as it jumps into my head. It might be bunk, really. Is that was about a matter of degree. In other words, you still have to pick up a pen. You still have to create solitude for yourself. You have to be a thinker. Writers are basically first and foremost thinkers. They're thinking this stuff. And then the writing is the final act. It's the symptom of the inner turmoil, as it were. It comes out. It's not you need a pen, obviously, because you've got to make markings down on a sheet of paper so that people can visually see them and read your thoughts. Yeah, but this to me strikes me as being something of a completely different order. As if something is going to literally produce all this stuff permanently. It goes, we can anticipate your intellectual progress in the next 3 years. So we've got a whole array of 500 books lined up that we're going to release over the next 6 years. And it'll bring you to this point. I'm going, who's driving this thing anymore? Is it us? Or is it this external thing? And I think it's going to be this external thing. And it may well be this external thing. And that's where I'm feeling like I'm past my sell-by date. I'm going, it's a space that I can't associate with at the moment. Maybe I'll change and go, this is great. I love it. But I don't, personally, I don't want stuff. I want less stuff in the world. I'm sick of stuff. I want less stuff and I want it to be better quality. I don't want tons of stuff. Maybe everybody just goes, no, I really do want a helicopter. I got this machine. I made a helicopter this morning. I flew around a bit because it had a robot pilot in it, and we went all over the place, and that was cool. And then we destroyed the thing, and we turned the helicopter into a chicken shed. Oh, I don't know. But somehow I'm going, will we get blitzed out on instantaneous gratification? I kind of think we will, but this is from my viewpoint as I sit here tonight. That's it. It might be different tomorrow. Paul, please jump in.
I've got to say that I'm completely on board with you. It is certainly sure that if AI could rebuild a city or rebuild architecture AI is not going to possess the soul or the creativity to come up with truly beautiful and unique original works. They will be copies, they will be counterfeits of whatever existed before. There will be no soul, there will be no individuality, there will be no humanity in that city, in that town. Anybody that looks at it and thinks it's beautiful is going to be about as empty inside as the AI that created it. Humans have been bred and conditioned to be lazy. We have to fix that first. And if we're rebuilding towns and villages in ugly architecture, we do it one building at a time with truly unique individuals. And when the appreciation for those buildings spreads, it will overtake the boundaries of the village.
That's currently where my thinking's
point.
at, but I guess it's going to get shifted, as our thinking always does with things. That's the way I tend to agree with what you're saying. I just think that humans will sense, even though you say there's no way you could possibly know that this is different. I think there's something else, there's an inner voice that goes, this ain't right. That's what I've got going on with me. This ain't right. This ain't what we're supposed to struggle. Struggle's part of that kind of furnace in life that forms your character. If you take a huge area where much struggle takes place, like it's like when we look back at these engineering feats, these buildings, we're just going, wow, some guys did this. It's stunning,
Mm-hmm.
I like that feeling of being stunned and being impressed by what I know. Therefore, even though I might not fully express it in this life, some of that must be in me. And or if it's not directly me, because I'm a klutz with a hammer, the guy down the road, look at what he can do. This is, and you want to clap him. It's that. I'm not going to clap a machine, am I? I'm going to go, you're a fantastic machine. You can just do anything. I'm not interested in it. I can't have a relationship with it that counts. It's meaningless. It's just more matter, moving matter around. It's without that spirit of stuff. And maybe we'll be fooled. That's an anxiety, I guess, to use a stronger word that I've got about it. We'll be so deceived. You only have to look at the way people have become literally hypnotized by smartphones, courtesy of the blue screen, and everything that's going on. And we become habituated, do we not, to a way of life. And you go, I can easily change that. Try. It's not easy. You don't realize it, but it's like subtly embedded in every part of you that I've got a ritual here, and sometimes I look at it, I go, this is stupid. I need to break this. Like going on the bike this morning broke the moment for me. It sounds ridiculous, but it did. And I came back really happy that I'd finally jumped on the bike. I was forced to because I'd have been late to have the great tooth moment with the new dentist this morning. And it all turned out, it was fun. Do robots get a thrill out of anything? They don't. They're just mimicking having a thrill. This is why I'm just, I don't, so I'm just struggling. I'm struggling with it personally.
Yeah,
you might not be, but I am.
Yeah, but once upon a time, for example, in the 70s, clothing was quite expensive. So was shoes. Now they're dirt cheap. When the Spinning Jenny, we had them, to clothe yourself, it was a phenomenal price because it all had to be done by hand. But once they brought out the big looms and that, clothing became cheaper. And when you look at what you've got around you, look, for example, we've got this computer. Now that's most of the computers made by robots. It's brought the price down. Otherwise, it would just be prohibitively expensive to have a computer.
Yeah.
It isn't. They're cheap. Smartphones. I mean, all right, they've got child labour doing it in China, but they probably have robots doing it instead of child labour. Sorry.
No, it's. I think it's. I'm struggling with it as a topic, which I quite like. I don't feel in control of this at all, we've all got stuff going on. We're coming to the end of the show anyway, just to let you know. You'll hear the little guitar player any moment now. He's just about to kick in. Thomas, any final words from you this time round?
Have a good night.
It's been good to have you back on. We've moved around a bit, haven't we? And it's been nice being in your beer cellar for a few jars and a bit of a chat this week. And we'll be. I can see the AI theme being something that we're going to return to quite frequently, or maybe I am until everybody gets driven crazy about the whole thing. It's all going to turn out great. We've got fantastic people in charge of the world. They love us, and all their plans are great, and it's going to make the world lovely. And if you believe that, oh dear. Oh dear. Thanks to Thomas this evening, and to Eric, and to Paul and Patrick. Thanks for being with us. We'll be back again same time next week. Have a jolly good week. Learn about AI, and maybe you come on this next week and call in and just blast our ears out about how brilliant it's going to be, or whatever your anxieties are. Maybe I'll have to become an AI agony aunt or something. I'm worried about this. We'll see you all next week anyway. Bye for now, everyone. Keep good. God bless. Bye for now.
Ta-ta.